Hello.
Hey, what's up? Hey, are you streaming this at the same time?
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Are you streaming on Kick or are you on YouTube or Twitch?
On Twitch.
Okay, got it.
How's it going,
Well,
Devin?
thank you for that.
I mean, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
No, I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you for coming on. I think when Andrew mentioned you're coming on, I'm like, fuck, this can be sick. It's gonna be awesome. I think we've been talking about having the opportunity to have someone like yourself come on for like a long time now. So this is gonna be really exciting, and we're looking forward to. I'm sure there's gonna be some really interesting and exciting questions.
Yeah.
Hey, just quickly, Devin, we can't see you.
I'm very surprised you want me on, to be honest.
Devin, we can't see you. Your camera on Discord. If you mind just grabbing that one real quick.
Wait, what happened? What's wrong?
Yeah, your camera's not up. It's not showing up on our end.
Oh, you're right. Let me fix that real quick. Sorry about that. That should be fine.
There we go. You've had that same background for a long time now, hey?
The real trick is how many times have I switched places?
Fair enough. I guess no one fucking knows, yeah. Hey.
Oh man, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Devin, I was gonna say I've just got like a handful of quick questions for you, and then I was gonna say like I'd probably prefer to hand over to you because you got probably all the fun questions, but yeah. So I cut you off. What are you gonna say? Just
that it's a huge honor to be here, man. I think you're the real deal. I really looked into you. Had a research team look into everything to get ready for the show. I mean, $81 million to creators, and I think 250,000 gifted subs yourself. Like, I could tell that you have really passion for this industry. So I want to kind of thank you for that first.
No, thank you for coming on. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's more than 250,000 gifted subs was a few months ago. I think it might be hopefully at the 300K mark, but I reckon that might be a record. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's got more than that one, so I'm pretty proud of that.
I think you should be. I think that said, the caveat to this is thinking about this a lot, right? I've talked to a few people like you. I mean, most of the time, you're kind of surrounded by a lot of people who either want something financially from you or stand to benefit from you in some way. So you tend to hear a lot of what you'd like to hear. I'm neither of those things. So I think you really have a passion for the live streaming industry, and I do too. And my goal with this conversation, although it might get a little bit difficult, is to advance live streaming forward. And so I hope we can like meet on those grounds.
Man, I absolutely love that. I'm looking forward to it. Feel free to ask whatever you want. We don't take anything the wrong way. We're here again to have conversations, and that's sometimes the best way to go about it. The fact you mentioned you had a research team going through this sounds like we're going to have a lot of fun. So just really quickly before I let you go crazy at it, just a bit of background for anyone here on my stream that doesn't know who you are. You've obviously been doing a ton in the live streaming space. You've been working with Novo for like 10 years. You've recently stepped down. Can you just give a little bit of background on Novo and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, I mean, my start was in esports, right? I originally worked with Team Dignitas and I ran North America for them. And then I jumped on as CEO for Counterlogic Gaming. And we did the LCS stuff. And then we sold to Madison Square Garden in 2019. And after that, esports kind of stopped having interesting problems. Like there's just the franchising kind of made it uninteresting to me. So I wanted to do something more impactful, switch to talent. That was Nerd Fusion. And we started picking up actually some of the people that are now primary on your platform. I mean, you know, Tyler Trainwrecks. I know you're really close with him and you guys have done a lot of work together. He's one of my best friends in the world. So we repped him, a bunch of other people. We kept doing that for a while, got to Novo because we figured out that there was no ethical way to represent talent and brands at the same time. So you kind of have to choose one side. For a lot of reasons that I won't bore you with, we chose the brand side. And so we started working with brands. We ran advertising campaigns for them across, at first Twitch, mostly, but probably like in 2000, I guess probably like 2020 onward, we were running like 80% of our campaigns on Twitch. And then we found out that like the conversions weren't really that optimal. There's a lot to talk about there. I'm sure we'll probably get into. So we mostly switched to advertising on platforms like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and that sort of thing. And so we continued doing that. We ended up working for like Samsung, the US Army, like Amazon themselves, a bunch of people like that, Versace, and representing a bunch of brands. Kind of fast forward to today, and I'm sort of at the same juxtapose that I was at when I was working in talent, and that's that like you get to a certain scale with these things, and you can't make an impact that's meaningful. There's just no way to do good. You're either kind of up against like the Illuminati lizardmen and in the top 2 agencies in Madison Avenue, or you are like just stuck working with sovereign wealth funds and respectfully gambling companies. And so I eventually my clientele just wasn't like meeting the expectations of the impact that I wanted to make. And so I decided to step down and try to find something, try to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Well, that leads me on to exactly what I was going to ask you next. So after 10 years there, what's next? Do you have anything in mind, or is it what, open book?
I think I'm going to be really loud and annoying for a while, and then see who is doing something that really matters in a space that I care about, and they'll contact me. There's a lot of really big thinkers out there and people that are way smarter than me, and I'm kind of just waiting for one of those people to kind of knock on my door and tell me what's next.
Fuck, I love that. That's pretty cool. I think, yeah, if you're out there kind of looking for the next move, you're gonna struggle to find it. But if you're actively just waiting for the right signal, the right sort of mission, I guess that sounds really exciting. I hope you find something pretty soon. But yeah, be loud and annoying, and just I guess talk your mind and find exactly that kind of signal you're looking for. It sounds. I
got past like working. I'm lucky enough and blessed enough that I got past like working for trying to make ends meet a long time ago. So I'm really just about trying to make a positive impact on things that, and I don't mean to sound like arrogant on that. I'm not like, I really believe in like the world's ability to kind of find things that fit with you. And so I don't, I'm not going to like go chase people down or resumes or things that I don't need it. I'll just wait until something appears. And if it doesn't, then I'll keep talking and I'll keep creating and trying to impact things that way.
That's awesome, man. Just switching for like a second from that, recently you posted a few things on Twitter around like the view botting and stuff across all of live streaming, which is kind of interesting, right? It's always an ongoing subject that I guess, we're really familiar with. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here. You said, we probably can't win the war on bots from an engineering standpoint for a lot of reasons beyond the scope of this thread. I thought that was really interesting, and I love that you mentioned that, because it is definitely a super interesting subject. I thought maybe you could just explain that real quickly, because we always get this question here on Kick Talk. Everyone's like, why don't you just stop counting the view bots, or like, solve the view botting problem? We loosely try to explain it a bit, but maybe you can expand a little bit on what you mean by that, because I think it's super interesting.
Essentially, what I'm saying in that post is that you can't solve viewbotting unless you have a dedicated manual team of people who is willing to make the hard decisions to decide when a broadcaster is intentionally viewbotting versus and hiding it. So like they're not just showing it on screen. Because from an engineering perspective, detecting inauthentic views is pretty hard. So I don't know did you look into like my thread about my methodology about how we did it on Twitch?
I didn't get into the methodology side of it. No.
So I'll run you through it. And when I say we, I don't say like I didn't do this on behalf of Twitch. So for context, my focus is brands, right? I'm trying to represent brands. So part of the work that I do is trying to detect fraud for those brands to figure out how much of that is unauthentic views. So the whole reason we got into this whole viewbotting thing at our agency was just to try to prove better results to our brands. And finding out that like 30 or 40% of Twitch total is viewbotted was basically an accident. I mean, kind of, because we were using a technology to capture images of chat to try to get like when we were working for Brisk Ice-T, we were doing challenges where people would type stuff in chat and they would and like the chat would scroll, and that's like really good for marketers to see like PMs and people like that are running the project are like, oh, like we want to see chat interaction and legitimate engagement. So like, okay, we're gonna we built a script that could detect these things, and then basically screenshots an image off of Selenium, and then it throws it into like a bucket. And then that bucket of stuff converts it. There's a technology that converts it to text. And then you read the text. And there's devs right now that are like, there's a way more efficient way to do this. You can just pull a chat message. Like, I'm sure that's super true. But what we were trying to do was we're doing brand analysis. We're doing a sentiment analysis, basically. So what we did for viewbotting is we expanded that to like about 15,000 channels on Twitch. We just captured the stuff from every single thing. And what we found was it's really easy to detect on some ways, and it's also really hard to detect on the advertiser side. So Clancy was responding to me, kind of subtweeting me yesterday, when I said that he said that there are kind of quote systems in place from an engineering perspective to detect inauthentic views. But like, I don't know what those systems would be. And like, since I was on the Twitch sales side, talking to their reps all the time, I never got any idea that there was any of those kind of protections in place. And sorry, this is the long answer, but the short of it is like, when you end up at the end of this, you realize that like view botting is both a very obvious problem and a very hard problem to deal with at a platform level. Obvious to us as viewers, you can see if someone's view botting on Twitch or Kick in seconds, right? If you just look at the users, the cross reference against different chats, like it's the same bots everywhere. They're not trying to hide it. They're not very good at it. So, some are better than others, but like it's pretty easy. But from a platform perspective, detecting that IP, being able to distinguish that as if they're not on a botnet, if they're not on like a listed AWS like blacklist or something, like it's really hard to detect if it's an inauthentic user versus a normal user from a platform perspective. Yeah.
Are you sure you think it's really hard for a platform to detect if someone's view botting?
If they're no. No. If you have somebody look at it, it's really easy. But your problem on your platform is scale. So you have what, 7,000 active broadcasters at any given time. So like your problem is you need to. We're talking about. Your specific question was my engineering solution. So an engineering solution I kind of imply is automated.
Changed a little bit. Yeah, the engineering side makes perfect sense, but.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that this is a very difficult thing to do from an automation perspective, which is the scale that you're concerned with as a platform leader. But as an individual, yeah, if you have a manual team of people doing this, you can see everyone that's view botting in a couple of minutes. And that's kind of why I'm a little bit confused why neither Twitch nor Kick has really implemented a team like that to fix that, because I mean there are people on both platforms that are blatantly view botting. So
just I guess question here, and you've hit the nail on the head, right? So from our side right now with view botting, it is incredibly easy for the platform to see who's view botting, right? And I'll give you an example, right? Like you go to a normal channel, and the first thing you can start with, and this, again, I've got to be careful saying too much because we don't want to tell the view botters how we're detecting them, but I understand. Authenticated versus unauthenticated users, very fucking simple, right? Very easy. Some bots are quite smart. They start to log in, right? They've started to do that. Suddenly you can already tell. Like then you suddenly got the IP location. You can see where everyone's connecting from. If someone's streaming in Arabic, but all their connections are from Russia, you're like, okay, something's wrong here. You've got all that. You've then got a whole bunch of other ways of detecting whether other people are connecting. There's a lot of ways, right? There's thousands of ways to detect bots. But I guess, the problem is the moment you start reflecting what the view count is and telling them instantly whether or not you're counting it, they start to become more sophisticated, right? The moment you give people an instant feedback loop and say, okay, you're a viewer or you're not a viewer, they instantly iterate, and they can iterate until the point that basically they're just running 1,000 real browsers, right? So it's a bit of this struggle where you have to you've got to, the platform can basically know what's happening in the background, but they can't tell the streamers exactly what they know. That's the problem typically. So that's why you've got this issue where view botting just kind of exists, right? With that being said, there's other measures that we take in place, such as how we can sort of reduce that. But what really interested me though is you mentioning this manual solution. How would that look like? And how would you prevent people from like accidentally like getting banned or becoming like collateral damage or whatever because someone is say attacking them or whatever? Like how would you make that distinction versus intentional versus non-intentional view botting?
I mean, at the very least, you can start with the people that are openly admitting it, right? So like in Twitch's case, you can just look at RayJ. In your case, you can look at Neon or Fuzi, any of those people that have like literally just said they're view botting. Like we can start there, right? But you can also look at those statistics. Like if you look at somebody like Neon, for example, and I don't have to like do names or things like that if you don't want me to, because I know you're in a position as a CEO that you can't like comment on this other way. I'm not asking you to. But if you look at a person like that and you compare them to somebody that has like 200 active viewers, this dude has 190 words per minute going in his channel versus a person with 300 viewers. That's at 24,000 viewers, right? This dude, this other dude has 300 viewers in his channel and he's at 200 words per minute, the same amount. Or you can look at the number one Kick broadcaster for the last week, right? Maherko, who has 40,000 CCVs in July. This is 2 days ago, and he has 19 messages per minute. I mean, these are blatantly botted channels, right? So like the first thing you have to decide as a platform leader is like, do I want to do I want to acknowledge this and enforce this? Knowing that you may get false positives and you may knock these people out, and it may not be them, right, that are doing it. And I think Dan Clancy is running the same calculus over at Twitch right now for a lot of his major streamers. And I agree with you, it's not an easy problem. But I think there's a percentage of people that are just at this point literally abusing the system because they think you'll do nothing about it, and those are probably the lowest hanging fruits. I think in a lot of cases, if you go after the people that are the largest offenders, you start to show other smaller broadcasters and other people that that's the culture of your website, and you won't allow that, and it will start to change.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think I see a world, right? This is again, so I'll come back to my other questions and let you go on your own, ask your own ones in a second. But I see a world where that could work, right? That could work, and you could start to set an example. But then it gets to a situation whereby the people viewbotting will just, you know, unleash on other people, knowing that they can get people banned, right? Systematically viewbot them. And we've got this problem where now they're sitting there saying, I swear to God, I'm not viewbotting, it's someone else. And now you're playing around with like having to like manipulate view counts to try to eradicate it. Then people pointing fingers at each other. Oh, you've fallen off.
That is, sorry about that. I don't broadcast that much, as Santa Maria said, so sometimes the tech goes wrong.
But yeah, I see a world where we could set like this amazing precedent, right? And it could suddenly like everyone goes, wow, like shit, we got to be really careful here. And everyone goes, say, thank you so much, Kick, you're saving the industry. But then what happens when people start throwing view bots at other people and it becomes like this really big problem? Because you know how streamer drama is, right? Like everyone
of course
ends up having drama at some point. And not to mention viewers now have access to these bots as well. Like that's a big thing as well. Like a viewer has access to it. Like I don't know, when it starts to get real messy, like what would you do then?
Well, can we back up a little bit? Because the answer depends on what you want for your platform, which I guess is kind of like, before I like understand anything about you, like what in your view truly do you want for Kick? Like what is your vision of a incredible platform? I was there with Tyler when you started it because you couldn't get a fucking response from Twitch and they didn't pay you even a basic respect, and now you've eaten up a huge percentage of their market share. So they fucked with the wrong guy on that, and I know why you started it. But like, what is your vision for this platform? Because to understand that, I can understand it, like how draconian we need to be with that answer, if that makes sense.
You know, from our side, right, I think that we see a world whereby live streaming just starts to grow beyond where it had gone with Twitch, right? I think Twitch got to a point where it got being huge for esports and became massive for gaming, started venturing into like the just chatting, the stuff like what, you know, Kai and Speed and Aiden are all doing, and, you know, started to go into IRL. But I think, you know, what live streaming has to offer in terms of this really simple component, right? I think of live streaming and I go, what makes live streaming amazing? And to your point, what you're mentioning before, chat, right? It's all about chat. It's about this engagement. It suddenly creates this whole brand new experience when you're watching something and you've got a community and you've got people interacting, and you've got this sort of live feedback loop between, you know, content and community. And I think honestly, there's a world there where live streaming will continue to grow beyond what we're used to seeing, you know, into IRL content, into maybe more sporting events, into anything, right? I just think this idea that basically you can combine a live feed and a chat and a community and just makes everything better, right? So, you know, I think live streaming can reach heights that have like never been seen before. You know, I think obviously Twitch is huge. YouTube live streaming is massive, but you know, there's a world out there where this can grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. So, you know, that is our ultimate sort of vision. We think that the live streaming industry has no sort of ceilings. You know, as a platform, though, of course, you know, integrity of viewership and everything is great, because what ends up happening when you've got people say viewbotting and all this kind of stuff is it demotivates the people who are truly bringing you traffic, right? So it's a fucking pain. Yeah. It sucks. It completely like breaks the system. So, you know, to answer that question, you know, that's kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for growth.
So I agree with you that live streaming can expand to these bigger mediums. Why do you think that Twitch was not able to make that leap?
I don't think they wanted to take the risks. I don't think they wanted to invest in it. I didn't think they wanted to.
Of course, they spent $125 million on music. They spent about that much on esports broadcasting rights. They had NFL through Amazon. Like, they still haven't be able to make the league. So they've made the financial commitments to try to do it. But why haven't they been able to do it?
I think it comes down to, I think IRL is a great example of something which they could have gone much further with, and it has that opportunity to start intersecting into these new areas, but I don't think they wanted to take that risk so much, right? I think they cut back on it very quickly, and they didn't love it, right? The IRL creators were told, hey, look, you can't do this. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure why it hasn't quite gotten there. I think at the end of the day, I think they're under a lot of pressure to obviously meet certain quotas, and I think brand advertising is very different on different genres, right? I think that plays a bit. You know a lot about that.
Yeah, that's why. So I mean, the reason why Twitch hasn't gone mainstream, and like, there's a few exceptions to this rule. They're often like very within certain brand guidelines, like Kai Cenat's McDonald's ad, or like Ninja going to like NYC, like that kind of stuff that occasionally breaks through the fourth wall. But what it really is that like the major Madison Avenue agencies, the major ad spend, the major brands, the major people that like control these media outlets gets more narrow at the top. And Twitch was never able to break that ceiling because they just can't be taken seriously. And so like, that's why I ask you what your vision for Kick is. If it is true that you want to break through that ceiling where Twitch did not, you have to take very draconian methods to be taken seriously by these people. What do you think about that?
What do you mean by draconian methods?
Yeah.
So for example, I mean, like right now, let's look at like what Kick is doing statistically. So in the last 4 months, you guys have grown 40% to 40% of the size of Twitch. You have 900,000 CCVs on average, but you only have 5,000 live streamers versus Kick having, versus Twitch having 90,000.
You're using streams charts, right?
Yeah.
The API endpoint they're using for live channels needs to be updated. The average channel is about 14,000.
Okay, say it's 14,000. We'll go with that number.
Yeah, we'll go 14,000. But yeah.
Because I'm pulling from Twitch directly for their API, so I know that number is right. But like, let's say it's 14,000 live active channels versus 90,000 active channels average on both, right? How can you have 40%? Basically, the streamer ratio on that for Twitch, you'd have about one streamer for every 25 viewers. But on Kick, you'd have 180 viewers for every one streamer. How is that possible? Right? There's no way that can possibly happen unless a large majority of those views are inauthentic.
I think you'll find that on Kick right now is heavily. So if you drive into that data, right? If you drive into that data, and I'm not sure if that's an open answer that you're looking for, you'll see that the majority of that's driven by Spanish market, right? And the Spanish market, Kick currently has like the top like 30 streamers in Spanish is all on Kick. Arabic as well. We've got a lot of critical mass on the larger streamers that I think would probably be pushing that number up a lot.
Whether the views are from Spain or US doesn't make them any more authentic or less.
So you've got because there's 150 people to a channel, that makes it
180. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, no. Because it's not possible to have that kind of viewer distribution with that kind of number of streamers, right? Like where are those viewers coming from?
Why is it not possible?
Because what is the top funnel for those viewers coming from? If you look at Twitch, you take a 10-year history of Twitch, right? You've got a decade of Twitch stats. Streamer ratios for channels, even on the best games, have never gone over 100.
Well, that's because I think Twitch has got that huge rich history, right? When it comes to people who like, if I'm a brand new live streamer and I've never streamed before, right? What's the chance I'm going to go live on Kick versus Twitch?
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Well, Twitch has first mover advantage, so you're most likely going to stream on Twitch.
Exactly, and we're talking about all those channels. Like, how many people on those channels have 0 viewers? We've got we're talking tens of thousands of people that just go live every day on Twitch with 0 viewers. Yeah. Kick has attracted more established creators because obviously our target, right? Our target has been the larger streamers who are like, hold on, we're not getting, whatever. Like, that's been our sort of target. We haven't gotten so much what we'd call homegrown content creators yet, right? So a lot of people have moved over with larger audiences. And I think that, again, it's a positive as to why Kick is a great place for new streamers to start, because it isn't the place. We've got all these viewers that are coming on the back of successful YouTube careers, on the back of successful Twitch careers, all that kind of stuff. So the viewers are there, right? But yes, the streamers aren't quite there yet. We must say we haven't cracked through to the point that when someone starts streaming for the very first time, they're going to end up on Kick, right? So I must say the number of people actively streaming on Kick is low. And as you know, it's fucking hard, very hard to become a streamer, right? And become an established one. So a lot of people come into Kick for the first time and they're dropping off. I think Twitch has the has the yeah, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but they've got the fact that they've got 10 years of history, that you just have so many tens of people, thousands of people rather, coming on, just going live to nobody.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, so because we have 10 years of history, we can infer data from that, right? We can see that, like for example, a category like Magic the Gathering, very weird category, will have a very high viewer to streamer ratio compared to other categories because there are more people available that want to watch that game for live streaming for some reason. And basically every single category within a live streaming platform is a subculture, really, of viewership and community. I'm of the opinion that no one really watches Twitch or Kick because they just enjoy the platform. They're there to watch a specific game. They're there to watch someone they're following because they really like that person, and so on. So live streaming has a very hard top funnel problem, like, i.e., like, how do we get these viewers into these portals? And so we can see through like 10 years of data that certain communities, these sub communities that we just mentioned, will sometimes have a high pool of viewers to view. And IRL is a sub community in itself, right? Which is like 30% of Kick's viewership. Like there'll be some pool and percentage of people that are available for that, and then there will be, and then there will, for other channels, there won't be. So when I say something like 180 viewers to a single streamer, I'm doing that with 10 years of knowledge that is not possible to maintain with completely authentic views. It's just the pool of people that are available for those kind of things is just not available.
So I just want to grab the math here. So we've got 980,000 average, right? 14,000 average channels. I think the math is a bit off here, man. 980.
Sure, because I'm using the 5,000 from Stream Charts.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you.
But call it 150 if you want, like, or anything above 120.
Yeah, but 980,000 divided by 14,000, we're looking at We're looking at like, yeah, what? That's like 65, 70. That's like
okay.
That's a lot better. Right? Yeah. That's like a decent difference.
So maybe you can answer for me. I mean, where do you think those top funnel viewers are coming from? If not like the core communities of the games that drive them and the people that drive them.
The top
and look, like, I'm not saying that, like, just to acknowledge real quick, like, I run the stats, right? I know you have very authentic broadcasters like XQC or Trainwrecks who I think are 100% above board and are legitimately bringing audiences over, but that doesn't account for 40% of Twitch's total CCVs.
So I think just to backtrack here for a second, right? I just want to tell you straight up, we have never ever denied the fact that viewbotting is a major problem, right? We talk about it all the time. I'll tell you one thing though, is that we're not incentivized off viewbotting, right? We've got no upside to viewbotting whatsoever, apart from, yes, maybe the streams charts saying, hey, look, this is the number or whatever, right? There's nothing else going on there from our side. In terms of the differential between, say, Twitch having an average of 25 viewers per streamer and Kick having an average of 65, I think that's heavily based upon the fact that we've attracted a lot of the highest, like, you know, the more established streamers. We have far more established streamers who then have an established viewer base coming over to Kick, rather than people who are starting on Kicking from the ground up. We're looking to change that, and we hope to change that, right? Because this is one of the main things we talk about all the time. We need to have homegrown talent. We want people to start thinking about, hey, look, I'm looking to get into streaming. Do I choose Twitch? Do I choose YouTube? Do I choose Kick? Hopefully they go Kick. Yeah. And obviously with that, we're going to have a lot of people starting out, and they're going to be on 0, 1, 2, 3 viewers, and they're going to bring that average down, right? But for now, there's a massive situation where we have a lot of people you know, coming over the Kick just because they're watching someone who's already been established elsewhere. And subsequently, I believe, yeah, to your point, there must be a differential, which I think is a great opportunity for streamers. If you're a streamer, you're looking at that, you probably go, hold on a second, there's more viewers to streamer ratio, which is, you know, potentially a good thing.
Hey, well, one other thing to add, Devin, really quick is from a strategic standpoint, I think that very early on, we were like, you know, let's go after Twitch streamers, because that was the world that we were in. But when we started looking out, we were like, wait a minute, YouTube Live is the dominator here, right? TikTok Live is the dominator here.
Yeah, TikTok is the TikTok. Yeah. You can't have a conversation. People in the Twitch and Kick world. Sorry to interrupt, but they for context for everyone listening, and nobody understands that, like, this game that Twitch and Kick are playing are just not.
It's a slap fight.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. TikTok Live is really the only conversation to have in terms of. They're 3 times the concurrent viewers of Twitch. They're twice the watched hours. Like, it's insane. Yeah.
And just to finish the point, like, look, you know, TikTok Live, you know, I've been on there. Like, I could argue bot haven over there. Like they're slinging their algorithm like crazy. YouTube Shorts is slinging their algorithm like crazy.
Yeah.
My point in saying this is that we have strategically gone after other talent that are non-Twitch endemic, because we have found that there is this Stockholm syndrome when you try to negotiate with a Twitch creator. Like they have this affinity. It's like trying to talk someone out of their first love, right? And saying,
I've negotiated a lot of these deals, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's like when you show them the numbers, you're like, why would you stream on this platform versus this platform? It's absolutely bonkers. What we have found is that when we talk with Instagram creators, TikTok creators, YouTube live creators, or YouTubers who've never thought about live streaming, they start to come over to Kick for two reasons. It's fresh for them, right? And then the second thing is they can be completely themselves, like authentically, because our TOS treats people like an adult. What they have found is like, I can paint my full canvas here, and then I can take this footage and edit it for other platforms and not have to water down my content. So that's another area that we're really concentrating in, is we're kind of like, all right, we've gone down the Twitch road. Let's go down these other paths that have really great creators with amazing audiences.
I understand, and for what it's worth, if I was on your marketing team, I wouldn't be targeting anybody from Twitch. Like you said correctly and intelligently, the pre-established notions that those people have that are coming over, the expectations they have, the precedent that was set by platforms like Mixer and YouTube in acquiring people for multi-million-dollar deals makes that untenable. Plus, I think you can do better getting conversions off of TikTok and Instagram anyway. Like I think those people are going to convert audiences better over, and they're not going to come with all like. And that's why I don't like respect in respect to your platform. I don't like tying the conversation to Twitch every single time. You guys are your own entity now. You've deserved that, right? And so I think we can have a conversation about Kick outside of Twitch, which is why I'm not like really referencing those two things in junction here, right? But that said, I think if you are going to stand alone as a platform, I think one of the big reasons I'm here today is to kind of figure out what your plan is to do that, because I guess Slasher died against you in 2024, Eddie, for bringing for going this point. But I don't see how Kick in the long term survives without the vehicle of stake and the LTVs of those users. I mean, supporting the platform financially. So how do you like what's your plan for profitability for Kick? Like, how does it get, or is there a plan? Like how does it get there?
Yeah, so I guess we get asked about plans for profitability all the time, right? And I think
it's a boring question.
We're coming up to year 3 now, so at this point we're going, okay, we need to start looking towards that. You know, I think the answer is always advertising, right? The answer is advertising, but is what shape and what form of advertising that's going to be. And the thesis here, the theory is that advertising on live streaming can be very effective. And I think you've been part of some incredible campaigns. You've done some campaigns for agencies out there over these years, I'm sure, where you've managed to have incredible conversion rates, utilizing live streaming to achieve what would normally be impossible on any other medium, right? It can work incredibly well. So I think there's an opportunity there to utilize advertising, utilizing the power that live streaming has in culture to advertise products that have, in a way that can really resonate with consumers and achieve, acquisition that otherwise wouldn't be achievable. And that's what we're making a bet on. We're making a bet on the fact that live streaming is very good at converting people when done correctly. I think if you chuck, 180 seconds of ads at someone, you're probably not going to get that much conversion. But if you go ahead and you integrate your ads in a seamless way, in a smart way, I think there's a very, very strong way in which you can get a return on investment. Again, has it been tried before? Of course it has. You've got, bounties, you've got TikTok trying a lot of different things. I think a lot of people out there experimenting, right? But all we understand for sure, one thing that we're certain about is having that level of engagement, that a level of the attention that streamers get off their viewers is incredible, all right? And how you can harness that to have successfully advertised is a huge open opportunity. So that's what we look towards. At this point in time, where we're not actively doing so, we are focused on growth. We're focused on viewer experience. We're focused on bringing the product, the tech, everything that's needed into the right spot. But, we've got a really, really good understanding that, live streaming has a potential, I think, if tapped in the right way. And I think, you would understand this better than anybody, I like to think.
I agree with you. I do think that advertising is like kind of the first and only solution. Like you basically have a couple of options, right? Like you can monetize your viewers, you can monetize your streamers, you can you can collect higher splits. You guys have opted to take like extreme monetization in favor of the creator. And like I want to be really clear that like if I'm coming off hard, I'm understanding that I think that Kick more so than any other platform in the live streaming space has rewarded creators proportionally better than anyone else. Like that's one of the big reasons I agreed to be here. Like I think you guys really care about the creators that you're that are coming onto your platform. I think the KPP is like pretty novel in the way that you're dealing with measuring engagement rates and rewarding for that. It's awesome. So like the credit where it's due, right? I think like the leap now to becoming an advertiser friendly platform is really spooky for you because there's two problems, right? The first one is that if we are dealing with anything in advertising, especially because Twitch has done you guys a pretty big disservice by burning out a lot of the bigger brands on really, really big high spend ad campaigns that do not have any attribution or good tracking. And I cannot tell you how many dozens of brands that they've knocked out of the space that I've personally talked to. Campaigns that we've run ourselves that our rep was on the line because our conversions were when we didn't know as well what was happening. It's a real problem. But then on top of that, I think you've got to compete against Meta and you've got to compete against YouTube, which have incredible conversions on their ad products, and so are doing it, by the way, in a way that's completely brand friendly and above board. And so like you are going to need an advertising team, like the best executives in the world to handle that. It'll be a really hard problem to solve. Yeah. And I can talk a little bit about how I would solve it, but I kind of, or we can just go from there.
It's funny. I've got two questions that I was going to ask you, and I'll say them both because I'll let you answer them both in conjunction. One was going to be, what's the most successful live streaming campaign you've ran for a client? Because I'm assuming it's not just, simple ads or banners or scripts or whatever. I'm sure it was more creative than that. And I was going to say, how would you best monetize a streaming platform? So on the back of those two questions, I'll let you quickly run with that.
Yeah, that's okay. Shit, man. This is like first of all, the people have been like, oh, would you take like a Twitch C-level job? And I'm not, in the context of like Twitch, I'm not sure that I would, because the bureaucracy that I'd have to run through at Amazon to white paper everything, I don't think
insane.
I don't think I could get anything done, dude. Like, so let's say that I have like carte blanche to like fix this problem. The first thing I'd probably do is I'd probably institute, I think one of the smartest things that Twitch did to verify authentic users was phone and email verification. And third-party verification for every user, right? So like we probably start there. As far as I know, Kick doesn't have that functionality yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, so then from there, I think the first thing is the biggest mistake that Twitch made. Okay, so we would be a little bit careful with like the actual numbers here. I mean, we can probably talk about it offline, but just because this is like online, I'll be a little bit more careful. But in my opinion, the Twitch sales team, first of all, was all white glove. Okay, so if you wanted to do, if still to this day, if you want to do a deal with Twitch, you need to call someone up physically. You, Eddie, know how difficult that is, or email them, right? And get a response. You need to get a sales rep on the phone. They're going to charge you a minimum to advertise with them. That minimum is a very high number. I don't think I can say what the number is, but it's a really high number. And that means that immediately, almost all of the vendors who are like smaller, hey, I want to throw $500 at this problem, I want to see what happens, those people are out of the game. And so Meta and Google really excelled, and Google does $30 billion of advertising revenue a quarter because they allow people with $10 to run a campaign. They allow people with $10 million to run a campaign, and you can get pretty consistent, you can expect pretty consistent results off of keyword marketing based on whatever you spend. It's just a ratio to like your cost per click it just has to be lower. Your cost per acquisition to customer essentially has to be lower than whatever the margin is of the product that you're selling or service, right? So in the exact same way, if you want to build a solution into an for Kick, you need to have a platform that is fairly automated in its onboarding of vendors. A, right? And then B, gives them a high degree of selection over what kind of campaigns they can run, which was the second mistake that Twitch made. So, for example, I only want my ad to be shown to verified users who have put their phone number in. Or I only want my ad to be shown to people in the following categories. Or I only want my ad to be shown to people in the following state or theater or demographic, right? These are all things that are basic technology for Meta and Google. So if we're going to compete with these platforms, and I think Twitch has kind of pretended that, like, oh, we're in live streaming, like we don't need to compete with YouTube. Fucking wrong. Like, you absolutely are competing with YouTube directly, right? Like, like if I'm as a vendor has spent millions of dollars on ads, I'm absolutely thinking, where is my brand's ad money going to be the best place to spend? And if YouTube is a better answer for that, there is no reason why I'm going to do live streaming. So you have to implement an automated system. You can also have kick streamers opt in to that system and submit their own data with like some kind of automated or manual verification or script-based verification based on IP and like where they're streaming from and what their audience is. So in that way, you could probably feed over to advertisers. Like, advertisers care about a couple of things, right? Like brand safety, demographic and theater, right? And like engagement. And you guys already have engagement solved. Like, you already have those stats on. I don't know if it's one of the people I talked to for the show. His name is Wiz. He has a website that's tracking the engagement for you guys. So he's doing like, that's a dev that's done. I'm sure you guys have that on the back end as well. You can share. So those are some of the solutions I would apply. I can keep talking, or I don't want to monologue like an evil villain or something, but I don't know where we're at with that yet.
It sounds, yeah, but just to understand, you mentioned, so, and I guess you know this very well. So right now, Twitch doesn't allow people to break down which states they want to target or categories, and that's not an option.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that is the biggest mistake that Twitch has made in advertising is, one, the minimum's too high to get in. And two, you can't target by theater, by demographic, by anything. I mean, your ad, if you run an ad on Twitch,
you know
you're Lexus and you run an ad.
Is there a reason?
Yeah, it's the engineering team is, I mean, okay, so the original engineering team on Twitch was focused on building a CDN. Sorry, for people watching, that's a content delivery network. That CDN eventually was sold. So the reason why Amazon bought Twitch was IVS.
Are you sure so there was two.
So yeah, there was two. I mean, I was talking to all the C-level people during this acquisition. Like that I'm very confident that is the reason, because there was two vendors, right? There's Google, who wanted to kind of fold them in and give them less control, and kind of make it an aspect of YouTube eventually, and own the live streaming space. And then there was Amazon that looked at the IVS technology because at the time that Twitch sold,
you think IVS is a technology. So you think Amazon looked at IVS as a technology and said, this is worth $1 billion.
Absolutely. Yes. And it has been. They were absolutely right on that play. IVS is an unbelievable technology. So like, as a content delivery network, nothing for live streaming has ever eclipsed what Twitch has built. The engineers at Twitch,
I think you got to dig deeper on that, man.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
it's the pixel embedding. The pixel embedding along with the IVS takes it to the next level. All right.
Pixel embedding. What do you mean?
Don't you think it's a little weird that if you buy an ad space, like let's say I'm Alienware and I buy a big front page space on Twitch, right? Don't you think it's a little weird that on the back end, the platform can guarantee the amount of eyeballs that it's going to deliver? Like, no one can do that. You can't say, if you pay me X in live streaming and say, then you're going to get this many viewers unless you can deliver that at a high rate, unless you can pipe that in.
Hold on. So I think we're let's clarify here. I'm making a very firm statement that Amazon doesn't care about like Twitch as a medium. Okay, like in the way that they care about it, like Prime Video.
They don't care about the creator and the art and the philosophy of live streaming.
Why would they? They're a product-based business. They're shipping they're shipping sofas to people. They don't give a shit. Like right? Like so if we know that, right? We know that like the technology that IVS is, which is a content delivery network that has like technologically it was way above its time. Right, was acquired by Amazon to offer to vendors to support QVC on their website, And that's why they bought it. Yeah, and it's absolutely worth $1 billion. I mean, if you don't believe me, look at the build.
Are you sure that because IVS was doing the content delivery themselves as well? Well, they were using AWS.
No, IVS is the CDN. So the CDN, the IVS was sold as a full product to Amazon, and that now is the product that you are literally using to host your servers, correct? Like if
Amazon servers, right? Like they were using
if you don't
Amazon
believe
data transfer.
that
They were
IVS is
encoding, and weren't they? Or
wait, sorry,
they were doing the content delivery themselves.
Who was
IVS or the original Twitch, whatever you call IVS before it was called IVS.
No, when Emmett and Marty and all the engineers at Twitch built IVS, which was so before IVS was IVS. It was the Twitch CDN, meaning that it was the way that like I'm broadcasting right now that I connect up, encode, and blah blah blah. That's the technology, right? So it's that thing encompassed that got sold to Amazon.
Okay, so yeah, so I think
as a shell of Twitch.
Yeah, gotcha. But they're still delivering content. You're using AWS for like all that data that they were transferring.
Well, today, but that technology was enabled via IVS, and that's, and by the way, the reason. If you don't believe me, two things, right? One, the people that bought Twitch within Amazon was Andy Jassy's team, right? Which is AWS. It wasn't Prime Video. It wasn't the media team. It wasn't the people that normally do media. That do like, it wasn't a TV deal, right? So that's A. And then B, if you don't believe me that IVS makes money, just look at your monthly bill for it.
Yeah, no, IVS is incredible. IVS is absolutely incredible, right? And the fact it was,
it's awesome. Yeah, it's absolutely worth $1 billion.
The story behind it, right? And the people involved with it, we know who they are, and they're incredibly smart people. Some of the smartest people I've ever met, honestly. So yeah, no, I completely understand. But yeah, I guess I've heard a couple of different stories around the reason Twitch was originally bought. But yeah, I guess what the technology, of course, is incredibly important. I guess. So that like kind of, I forgot we were on a really important point before that. I mean, I guess this is also like an important point, but like it kind of leads to, and I totally agree with that as a technological buy. I didn't understand it when Amazon bought it. I was like, oh, maybe Amazon wants this as like a media play. Maybe at the time, one of my good friends who invented Prime Video and was kind of running Twitch with Emmett. He's creator first. His name's Ethan. Their team initially looked like they were really interested in building Twitch out to be like an actual like creator first platform, and that they were focused on being like creator first. But like the top brass in AWS just doesn't have that vision for Twitch. And now I understand why. And I kind of agree, like from a, I don't like it because I want live streaming to succeed, but from a macro business standpoint, I understand why Amazon doesn't really care about the media side of Twitch, like the creators, the users, and like the front facing like thing that you see when you go to twitch.tv. That can be a really hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but that's the state of things. The only people that really care about live streaming in the space right now, given that like Caffeine's went down under with the $120 million investment, like Mixer's dead, things like that, are probably you personally, because I know you personally have a passion for it, and probably your team does by extension, and YouTube Live legitimately does. As much as they face criticism, they have their own team within YouTube that is 100% focused on making that product great. So I think we got a little bit sidetracked there. We're talking about the advertising side. And then we said basically all the great engineers are on IVS, I guess, is what you were mentioning.
Okay, so you brought me back. Yeah, thank you. So understanding that, because you asked a question, you said why is it that Twitch has never built out that advertising system? So the answer is because the engineers that grew on Twitch, Emmett from the original CEO of Twitch and the founder for a long time, these guys literally built this platform from the ground up to be the best content delivery network in the world, and they succeeded at that. Like live streaming has never had that kind of technology. They did what they set out to do, and they sold the product that they built, right? But at the same time, they didn't care about advertising. They didn't care about monetizing it. They're engineers first and foremost, and those guys are not marketers. They're not advertisers. Like the kind of like Silicon Valley approach of like build the product and figure it out was like move fast and break things. We'll figure out how to do that later. And then later never came, and the company started overhiring, got too much money with the Amazon acquisition, and it was impossible to do anything.
But what, they
So
never
that's
went
why
back
they've
to-
never built that system.
Yeah, okay. So as an advertiser, you basically are stuck with just advertised, I assume,
It's horrible.
language, and that's it. That's all you can decipher.
Have you talked to like any of the agencies or like vendors that have had an advertising experience with Twitch? Right, like that have gone on and run an ad?
No, we've never really heard much.
It is physically depressing, brother. You literally jump on a phone call with like a middle level PM that's like, yeah, what do you want to do? Okay, well, our minimum spend is like this, and then they give you a really big number, and you're like, great. So now I've got to go back to my brand. Which, by the way, every single ad spend on a live streaming platform in 2025 is still going to be an experimental ad spend, right? Like you take a company, okay, like a company like Coca-Cola. They've got I'll make up a number. They've got like $200 million to spend in the year. Okay, what they're going to do is they're going to chunk that advertising spend out by certain categories. And they're going to say, okay, we know that 40 to 50% of our budget is already going to go to like TV, to like our partners, to like broadcasting rights, because we know that that gets conversions, it gets the exposure we want. And somewhere in there, there'll be like 5 to 10% of that number that is what's going to be called experimental budget, which means we're going to throw it at weird shit. And live streaming is weird shit. People don't understand. It's not like a mainstream thing. It is always weird stuff. Nobody is using their primary marketing budget to advertise in live streaming. So everything that Twitch gets is going to be a percentage of the original marketing budget that's allocated, because it's test money. You don't know if it's going to convert as well, so you're not going to spend as much. So you have to go back to your brand and you have to justify a very large number to try to and say, look, we think this is going to work. And then the brand says, okay. And then you run that against Twitch. You have no demographics. You have no idea, no attribution. So you have no idea if your stuff even converted. You have a general idea of impressions, but it's like the same type of idea you have on advertising on like X. It's like, oh, you got 100,000 impressions. It's like, okay, then the fuck what? Like what? And so how am I supposed to go? Like normally, like we're used to it at an agency, we're going to go back to our brand with a PDF. Here's how we converted. Here was your cost per click. Here was the people that clicked through. Here's the influencer campaigns we did and how they did and like their stats and things like that. Like if you do an advertising campaign on Twitch, you're $250,000 or $500,000 in the hole, and you have none of that. You just have some general number of impressions. Like, and so everyone's surprised, like, oh, why are these vendors never picking back up in live streaming?
So are you telling me that the vendors have no ability to cross-check the actual views? Like they're not connected. Twitch is in between on running their own layer of advertising, and they're not letting the ad servers kind of run any of their own checks and balances against that.
Yeah.
They just have to fully check.
Yeah. It's all run backend by Twitch. And that's why it has to be white labeled for every single one. I mean,
did they fall back to any ad servers ever, or no?
Recently, they have. Yeah. So once
but when they fall back to the ad servers, of course, the ad servers would have their own requirements to obviously verify views, or are they again going in blind?
Yeah, well, if you do third party, so I'm gonna be totally honest with you, Eddie. I can talk to some people that have run third party campaign. Magnate is the ad server I think they use on Twitch, right? Yeah, Magnate. Yeah. So like I can talk to some vendors that have done that. I've never done that because I literally think that was going to be such dog shit CPMs that I didn't even touch it, to be 100% honest with you. But I can get that answer for you. Like I know the people that have run that. I would suspect that that the reason why those brands dropped off. The whole like Twitch adpocalypse thing that I kind of predicted on my tweets like a few months ago, which resulted in like a 40 or 50% drop off on Twitch's like total advertising revenue, was in part because of the third party ad networks going in, doing trial budget, realizing the conversions and the attribution, the exposure wasn't there, pulling out, and also the combination of like a few very dedicated people bringing attention congressionally and to the major advertising agencies that there is like a lot of like crazy shit happening on Twitch. In terms of content.
Yeah. So that, to me, I should know this, and this is my lack of understanding. So people very well, advertisers could have been paying for views that never existed. And that was, they were.
They are.
I guess I can't officially say that. I mean, look, like
that sounds crazy. I always assumed, again, this is me coming in naively, that there was a level of control that you handed advertisers to verify their own views, right? And again, connecting to an ad server.
How?
they've got their own data they can run to verify whether they accept that as a view or not, right? Like that's how, again, when we've looked into, opportunities here to run sort of ads and how that can end up working, that's something which is quite common for the people selling the ads to be able to cross-verify and have access to the data and how they serve the ad and how that's embedded over the player and all that kind of stuff, which kind of allows this shared understanding, and you can go back and forth and debate over what's a view and whatever. But anyway, you'll basically tell me that doesn't exist. So therefore, like if Neon or whoever you mentioned before, Maherko or this guy or that guy has 70,000 viewers, they're selling 70,000 impressions.
I mean, Twitch maintains, the official party line on that is that Twitch maintains, as recently as yesterday when Dan Clancy tweeted that there is systems in place to detect inauthentic views and not count those as ad plays. I responded to Dan saying that I was a Twitch vendor for multiple years. We've run literally millions of dollars through the platform. I've talked to multiple sales reps about this. I've asked that question to them. And the answer that I get is two things. I don't know, or let me escalate that to somebody and I'll get back to you. And I never get an email again, or I never get a call again. That's if that system exists, because I want to be very careful of what I say here, right? Like, if that system exists, that's in terms of, and I can probably tell you a lot more offline about this, but if that system exists in terms of inauthentic ad detection, it is unknown to me or any ad vendor that I've ever worked with.
Yeah, wow, okay, that's crazy. I guess, just to paint a different story, like internally, like Andrew, you can vouch for this, right? We often talk about like what people's real view count is, right? Or what their real viewers is. It's just like, we're just like, this is their real view count. Like we know for a fact view problem's a problem, right? Like we know that this person's on this view count, this person's on that. Yeah, there's no fucking denying it, right? But you're telling me that that's kind of like, I guess, in a situation whereby it's probably gone on so long that it's just something that can't even be openly discussed at this point.
Well, it comes full circle. It's that like the original reason why I asked you like, what is your vision for Kick is because like if the reason why Twitch really didn't break that ceiling was we're kind of encompassing the issue here, right? Is that like at a certain point, you need to have like for Google to break through the ceiling of like, okay, YouTube is kind of a joke platform that advertisers are not going to run ads on. And for a long time, I think people have forgotten that YouTube really struggled. Like, right? It's like first it didn't do anything. And the advertisers said, hey, there's crazy content on here. There's nude people, there's racism, there's terrorism. You've got to stop that. So then YouTube overcorrected and the mother brain started slaying everybody, right? And then they had to correct on that. And they've gone through like tons of iterations of the matrix to try to create what they have today. And they've gone through more pain to do that. But the end result is you can get green, yellow, red stoplight technology that shows, okay, this is content we can serve ads on. This is content we can serve some ads on. And this is content that we can serve no ads on. And for some reason, the live streaming platforms think they can skip this pain. You can't. If you want to build a platform that is going to be that is going to invite advertisers and create scale at the level you need to make a profitable platform like YouTube, you have to go through those growing pains, and you have to have executives that are smart enough and willing enough to run that scary stuff. Like I really believe that.
So what, basically we just end up with a situation where we're just doubling down with exactly the same technology, the same systems, and just sell more, run more ads. And it was never about innovating and trying to achieve like, how do we actually fix the system? It was just like, you're telling me that the situation there and what you would correct given the right opportunity is innovate tech first, start to actually understand like, hold on, this is how we serve the correct ads to the right people. We empower the companies to be able to actually be able to work with it. That's your main area of making a platform, ideally profitable.
The system's not broken. YouTube is the best ad platform in the world. Like they've done everything right. The majority of creators on YouTube can expect to earn consistent CPMs across category. I can tell you reliably that a person that does gaming content on YouTube is going to make between $6 to $8 CPM. A person that's going to make that does business and finance content on YouTube is going to make between $20 and $25 CPM. And we know that because YouTube has successfully been able to charge enough vendors consistent pricing and get enough results through their automated system that they can drive people in. So what that's done, in my opinion, is created the best ecosystem for creators available. Like if you like and look, like in the actual process of building the system, you could innovate and do it better. I think you particularly, Eddie, because you are on top of something that you can run very fast. You are the only person in this industry that the buck stops with you, literally, right? So you don't have an overarching sovereign wealth fund running your shit. You don't have anybody telling you what to do. You're Bruce Wayne. You're Batman 2.0. Like you can do all this yourself. So if you run a team lean and they build this, it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be faster because it's not going to be under the bureaucracy that those two aforementioned companies had to go through to run the same problem. It's not going to be the same result. It's going to end up something completely different, but it is the methodology you have to use if you want to create a healthy ecosystem for creators and you want to build an advertising platform that makes sense and actually breaks through that ceiling to these mainstream people.
There's no big brother here, man.
I know that. Yeah. I mean, that's both a, that's both a blessing and a curse, I think.
No, I think it's yeah, it comes with a lot of opportunity, but definitely, yeah, definitely things can go wrong very quickly. But I like to think we've got a good grip. We're learning the hard way. That's the must say. In live streaming, there's certainly no cheap mistakes. That's for sure. Every learning comes at an incredible cost. But I guess, yeah, the great thing is, right, so that's what we're building out right now, and we've been working on this now for a while, is our advertising platform. And, you know, what you've mentioned in terms of features, in terms of opportunity of how it's going to run is like, I must say, like the things we scoped out at the very beginning, right? I'm sure you could go as deep as writing probably 100 pages on how you'd build out an advertising platform and every single feature you want for. But the fact that you're mentioning, and again, I had no idea that you know, if we're talking about, you know, Twitch in this example, they never even allowed for basic, you know, understanding different audiences and serving in different categories and choosing, you know, all that kind of very much what you'd almost take as being a given in today's world. It's setting the bar pretty low for us. And again, if we're coming back to the simple and always the very consistent arguments, everyone comes at us, they're like, Kick, what are you guys doing? You're crazy. Like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, because we always do. And to your point before, we get compared to Twitch. And everything we do, we get compared to Twitch. And that's fine. I get it. Of course, Kick looks like fucking Twitch. It's almost a carbon copy. And we're very much heavily on top of that demographic, and that's where we are positioned to begin with. But, you know, to that point, right, it sounds like the inefficiencies and the reasons for lack of profitability probably stem from something else than the fact that the whole entire system is broken. You know, again, if YouTube can pull it off and they can get past what happened in, I guess, 2018, 2017, when they lost like every single person on the platform and all that kind of stuff in terms of advertising, yeah, live streaming, I guess, can do the same. I guess live streaming, though, on the end of the day, though, is far more costly than VOD. So it's a different game, but
yeah, but the engagement makes up for it. You said that yourself. Like yes, it's more costly, but you should be able to raise CPMs proportional to that because your engagement and your conversions on your ads are going to be better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think that is the thesis we have, right? That's the big bet we're making.
Thesis is correct. Yeah. So it's like your path to profit. Like, okay, live streaming has no path to profitability is an uninitiated view, right? Like I think that's people that are looking at Kick and they're saying, oh, this is Twitch 1.5 or Twitch 2.5 or whatever, and we're going to compare it across the board. You can't do that. Like I've already come in here assuming you're meant to do something different, and I'm treating you as a platform on your own volition. That like you guys are a separate entity. I don't give a shit about those guys, right? Like it's worth talking about Twitch to kind of analyze like some of the mistakes they've made, like some of the stuff we mentioned before, like with their advertising stuff. But as far as you guys are your own separate entity. So what confuses me is the fact that this is new information, I guess, kind of enlightens me because as you said, if you're walking away from this conversation realizing that the bar for you to build an advertising network that makes sense for live streaming is way lower than you think, then I've done a good job here. Because I think that it would, in 6 months, you could build out a team that did advertising better than Twitch. But by virtue of the fact that they haven't focused on this problem and they've had 10 years to do it. And you might be like, oh, that's crazy. Like there's what now 500, there was 5,000 employees at Twitch, but they dropped the staff by a lot. So let's say that there's 2,000 now. I checked Glassdoor or something. Like these are the same guys that Dan Clancy walked into TwitchCon 2 years ago and said, we haven't updated our mobile app in 7 years. Right. So like that was how he opened his talk at TwitchCon. So like, you believe that these guys are not focused on an advertising solution. And if you walk away assuming that you can fix that problem better than them, then I've done a good job here because you can.
Real quick, because you were making a lot of comparisons to what Twitch learned and what YouTube learned and how they've taken very different paths in remedying the advertising problem. What do you think YouTube did better than Twitch in terms of building out, because they both were dipped in the same fire, right? They both went through the same things. We're going through the same things. The adpocalypse, I think like 6 months ago, Twitch was experiencing their adpocalypse. What would you say is the key differentiators that YouTube did different that Twitch just did not? That way we can use that as some sort of guide map or roadmap on our end,
Yeah. I think that I think that in order to understand this question, you need to understand what advertisers want. Okay. So I think that we're after four things fundamentally. Okay. And the first one is obvious, is return on advertising spend. What do we get back for our money in? Right. Second is targeting. So like how specific we can target. And third is demographics. What are the demographics that we can target, and who are those people, right? Obviously, predominantly United States or Europe are better spenders. We have all these stats, right? Because our brands are looking for lifetime value customer to maximize. That's going to be in first world always, right? And the fourth one is brand safety. And these are in order, okay? So return on advertising spend, targeting, demographic, and brand safety. Okay, and most people, some people think that order is mixed up. The order that I put in is deliberate. That's the tier of focus that you have to go down. The problem with Twitch is that it scores poorly on all four of those things. The reason why YouTube is the biggest spending platform as far as the medium we're concerned with, which is like VOD and live stream. That's why I'm not including Meta. The reason is because they excel at those four things. So return on advertising spend, you have a solid amount of money that you're issued, that you put in. I'm going to put in $500. I know my CPC is going to be, cost per click is going to be XYZ. I see in AdWords backend, AdSense backend, that the conversions are going to tell me, like, let's say I sell a T-shirt for $10. My margin is $5. Costs $5 to make. I make $5 profit. Okay. I can run a campaign for $100 that I spend up to $4, so that I have that $5 margin. And then as I tweak my campaign, I get down to $3, $2, $1, and eventually I'm just literally printing money. So Google has proved out ROAS in that way. Let's talk targeting, right? You can literally target like email lists. You can target. You can literally take an email list of your own people, build a lookalike audience based on that, and then target directly to those people. I mean, there's no better targeting in the world. Demographics, you can choose exactly by the city, by the block if you want to, where you want to advertise. TikTok Live, same thing, right? And if you guys haven't fucked with TikTok for Business, literally just creating an account there and just messing with it and looking around at the options they have for live streaming targeting and these things I'm talking about will give a lot of perspective on how to build this product. They're the best at it, full stop.
TikTok's it, for sure.
Yeah. And then lastly, brand safety.
They're just like, yeah, what TikTok's doing on the advertising front, like how they're integrating not just through just like standard advertising, but yeah, they've just done everything and they've embedded it in their own ecosystem as well. They fucking own the whole thing end to end. Like it's
but importantly, Eddie, they built that while Twitch and Kick were still like the speed at which they built that.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is, but it's also like it's like you can do that.
But it's crazy even compared to YouTube. You say YouTube, but TikTok's come out and reinvented advertising in the same way YouTube could be printing money if they had the same sort of level of technology. It's just insane, right? They're on another level. And I think, looking at the pace at which they move, the ideation they have around how they've just been so, again, I think, TikTok is the North Star there, right? And I think they've thought about like advertising, not just for like the next 5 years, but like the next 20 years and how they just own that,
totally.
Completely. I think they've got a world where basically a company will think about their online ad spend and they will only think TikTok. Like that's the world they're looking at. Like that's genuinely what I believe until I guess fucking US said we're banning this thing. But like they're fucking geniuses. So I just want to add that like a lot of what we're modeling is like creating that ecosystem for creators and advertisers and how you can bring that all in together. Like some of the stuff they're doing is just fucking so genius. So to that point, it's played around with it way too much. It's
okay.
Powerful.
So I think those things are not out of scope for Kick to do. But I think you have a two-sided problem. You have a technology problem, which is that you've got to address everything we've talked about and build that system. It looks like you're doing that. And then you have a cultural problem, which is that to some extent you need to convince creators and the people that are potentially going to be creators on your platform that they have an even level shot at becoming a successful KPP partner, right? As other people. And I think one of the problems culturally that Kick is struggling with is when you see some of these people, and I've got long lists of them, right? That are view botting 2,000, 3,000 viewers and then joining KPP and then getting paid for it. That is showing creators in the same way that like all those people that are the 0 viewer graveyard on Twitch is showing those creators that it's like, hey, I can't make it here. Right. So you have both a cultural and a technological problem to solve, and you need great executives on top of both. I think it's really, really a hard problem to solve for sure.
Yeah, and I think that cultural one's going to be difficult to change, and I think that's also the same for any new platform, right? I think again we use TikTok as this amazing example, but I think TikTok had a cultural sort of change that had to come over. I think for a long time no one would even want to say they were using TikTok. They were like, it was embarrassing, right? It was seen as this place kids went to run, but now it's just become, it's completely overturned that, right? I think obviously the same with Twitch when it was first around, it is difficult. I think you have to go through those, you have to prove that you're here for the long run and you have to slowly make inroads. But just to your point before, you mentioned like, hey, look, people getting on KPP and botting 3,000 viewers and getting paid for it. I think that's the one thing. Again, I'll challenge this, but I think I can challenge this because we can be very open about it, right? And we are open about this all the time here on these Kick Talks and internally and externally as well. Is KPP will only pay people for their real viewers, and we're very, very certain that we're able to understand who a real viewer is. Sure, people can get away and maybe fool the system for a day or two. But that only lasts so long, and it ensures that it only pays people for people who aren't viewbotting. Otherwise, the whole system would be fucked. Like if you see some of those people that you mentioned before sitting at X amount of viewers, the amount they're getting paid is only proportionate to their real viewers.
I know.
And the same way, I'm
the...
pretty sure the same way. Of course, if someone viewbots on, again, I hate coming back to Twitch, but Twitch is an example. They don't get paid for that on ad rev, do they?
Like offline question. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go over there. But let's address like the KPP thing. I believe you. I do think that the majority of those people on KPP are not getting paid for those views, but that is not the problem. When you build a kingmaker system that allows discovery only through directory and the highest number of viewers possible, it incentivizes people to view bot regardless of whether they're getting paid for it or not, because that will attract authentic viewers they do get paid for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. You end up creating this completely broken system, which then leads to people all jumping in, view botting, and then ultimately hurting the industry as a whole, because
the ecosystem,
you end up burning advertisers, et cetera, right? It's
well, it's not even. It's actually a creator problem first, even before advertisers. Like advertisers are a problem, sure, but that's like downstream. Like Twitch made that mistake because they assumed they could kind of lead advertisers on for a long time, and they could be like, okay, well, if some of our views are authentic and we correct that, if some of them are embeds or whatever, that's okay. They'll kind of deal with it and we'll kind of figure out that problem later. But who it actually burns is the creators, because like you're saying, your mindset, which is I'm seeing your CEO mindset here, is like, if I am a new streamer, like this is what you were saying, right? If I am a new streamer, what platform do I think about first to stream on, and why? That's really like, you're 100% correct that that's like the final question that an executive should be asking, and that's what Neil is asking over at YouTube, and that's what Clancy is asking over at Twitch, and that's what you should be asking, right? So part of that. And you've already solved part of that calculus, which is like, hey, 95% splits. How about that? Like $4.74 on every sub. Like, okay, like that's a very compelling reason to start on Kick, right? So like the thing culturally that is stopping people from streaming on Kick, and this is where I'll be like really frank with you, is I don't think that a lot of creators come to this platform, they see the level of brand risk that's tolerated, A, and B, they see these people that are view botting these numbers and at this velocity, and they're saying this platform is not going to take me seriously. There's no way that I can succeed here because unless I game the system, because everybody is gaming the system.
But would you say that you would believe, again coming back to this idea of choosing, I'm going to go to YouTube, I'm going to go to TikTok, I'm going to go to Kick, I'm going to go to Twitch, whatever. They're not asking the same question there. Are you saying that we're below on that front? Because I would say quite confidently that, again, I got to be careful here, but the measures we put in place for trying to like get ahead of viewbotting, again, completely understanding that there's a major issue with it, but we do have proactive measures which I think are out there, which is not happening elsewhere. So again, I think you've got that same problem everywhere, right? And I think the viewbotting side of things is if anything potentially more contained here. And again, feel free to challenge me on that completely, and I will take it completely. But
so by percentage, if I were to say that 30, I can confidently say that 30 to 40% of Twitch's viewership is inauthentic in some way. I would put that number closer to 70, 80% on Kick. Straight up.
Right. Okay. No. Well, again, we've got an understanding about what the numbers are, where the real numbers are. Again, it's a large proportion, but 70 to 80%, I think you'll find is far too high. It's not as high as that. There's a lot of view bots, that's for sure. But 70, 80%, again, if that's based on your analysis, I'll respect that. But I can, from our side, the big aspect is understanding what a real viewer is and what a non-authentic viewer is, and it's It wouldn't.
No, so let me be really clear here, because I want to. I want to defend you a little bit on that. There are times where I am very data driven, and I'll state when those are times. Like, for example, that 30 to 40% number from Twitch comes with great confidence of running that through 15,000 streams. I've not done that analysis on Kick. The way that I'm extrapolating that number is I know the number of view bots that are on Twitch, excuse me. And so if I'm looking at the viewer to streamer ratio without any justification of how that top funnel is being served, you just extrapolate the numbers and you get that number, right? Like if you're triple or double, I guess, if we use the math that you're using with the 14,000 active users, active streams at any given time, if you're double the ratio of the highest top funnel categories on Twitch, I don't see how you are not doubling the view botting as well. It just doesn't make sense to me from a math perspective.
So I don't know. I would challenge that way of looking at it. Again, if you ran the 30 to 40% and then you're deriving the 70 to 80% based upon that viewer to streamer ratio, I would come back to our very first discussion we had on this call was around saying, hey, on a viewer to streamer ratio is indicative of view botting. So I think that isn't the way to look at it. I think from when Kick very first started and we only had large creators and there was very few small creators that moved over because we paid a whole bunch of people, our viewer to streamer ratio was insane, right? But at that point, it was actually probably the healthiest view to review. It was probably the healthiest bot ratio we ever had. When we first brought over people, like people weren't fucking around. It was actually great. Like back then, it was really fucking low. And now, yes, it's grown a bit. And to be fair, I think that 30 to 40% estimation from what we see is very accurate for what the live streaming thing. I think you're on the money in terms of that number. But I think, I would only suggest that I think that viewer to streamer ratio, due to the type of people we incentivize to join, but due to the fact we're very heavy on saying, okay, move from YouTube or move from Twitch or move from TikTok. If you've got 75 viewers average, we'll fast track you to KPP. We've attracted a lot of larger streamers on average, right? So I think that's what to fall back on. But no, I think it's a huge problem, right? And
Devin, sorry, one other thing to consider, I want you to consider, is that since Kick doesn't run ads, like, we don't have all the baggage that comes with that, which is nefarious means of brands, managers, agents. I know you know this, that just pound their advertising campaigns or their creators with bots, right? Like that's
going on Twitch. It's such a problem on Twitch right now.
That's what I'm saying is that, like, since there is no incentive for these managers and agents and organizations to come over to Kick because we don't run ads, right? Like when we deal with a creator, the creator is the commercial on Kick, right? KPP pays them based on the engagement, the viewership that they bring over. I think one thing that I will agree with you on is that it does demoralize people who want to grind in KPP and they don't see any justice served towards someone that might be pumping their KPP out. And we know on the back end that, hey, we're not paying you out for this. And I think the full circle thing that people really want to see is like, well, if X creator is not getting paid what their KPP is, and they're feigning ignorance of like, I don't know who's botting me. I can't believe I'm being botted. Is that it goes back to your draconian comment of like, there just has to be a hard-nosed decision is like, are we going to set an example of people that way it trickles down and within the culture? I think we're talking around like numbers versus like intent versus like, how can you know that someone's being botted or botting themselves? You know,
you don't have to. You don't have to ban them. I mean, I would be a fan of banning some of the aforementioned people that I brought up in the first part of this. I mean, Neon going from 10,000 viewers to 70,000 in 4.5 minutes, and then calling his manager on the phone and saying that he pays $15,000 a month to ViewBot. Like, this is the kind of shit that we can like obviously enforce, right? But and from a cultural standpoint, it's going to make a difference to do that. But ultimately, you can also change the way that viewers are displayed. That's something that Twitch has never fucked with, right? Where you can show verified users that have phone numbers in the accounts versus actual viewers on a platform, and you can distinguish that for brands or for viewers. There are a lot of ways to like authenticate this process that don't necessarily end in enforcement. But the end result I'm trying to get to is that people look at Kick and they say, this is a platform that I can trust myself to build a career on. Now, I think you've already accomplished the first hurdle of that, which was like, man, are these guys even going to pay me? Right? Because, and that kind of came from like, how does this platform get its money? And now that you've paid out $81 million to creators, and now that you've shown that the KPP pays out, and you have Stripe, and you're legit. Like, I think you're past that hurdle, right? So the next hurdle you have to beat is the cultural war, which is like, okay, I need to be convinced as Devin Nash, the streamer, that by me starting an account on Kick, I have an even shot, or not even an even shot, but a shot, right? At growing my stream, having a decent discovery, and making it into KPP to make some kind of money, right? And so what I'm saying is like, the specter of these like bad actors that are doing way more damage than you may think, because that calculus gets run by every one of these streamers, and like so many hundreds of creators I've talked to are just like, yeah, fuck it, I can't trust Kick to be a legitimate platform, so I'm not going to stream there. I know, like, these guys are listening to us right now. Like, they're waiting for me, for us to give them a reason to not think that. Right.
Just out of curiosity, so I guess one thing we've found, right, is it comes down to where do viewers come from, and like, for example, like the discovery side of things. Like, how important do you believe that discovery to truly be? Do you think that, say, like these very large streamers that are doing well are simply growing because they're at the top of a category, or do you think they're driving the traffic from outside sources? Because you mentioned discovery thing, and you know, the fact that it's never really been a huge focus in at least the live streaming world that we know it as, right? And do you think that's on purpose, or do you think that's just by lack of you know, innovation or wanting to recommend the right streams, or where do you think that's derived from?
It's a really good question. The medium of live streaming does not beget discovery in the same way that something like VOD or blogging or even like posting on X begets discovery. There's like a really long and involved reason why this is the case, but like at the end where we end up with it is like, YouTube has tried this, TikTok has tried this, Twitch has tried this, and ultimately, basically all live streams are built either from the previous discovery that's been done, i.e. like somebody like Kai Cenat coming off of, was it Aiden? Or there was people that came before that allowed him to, like, I think his first stream ever, he had like 3,000 concurrents. I know Aiden himself, like there were some other people that like, so, and then there's a few of like the like real OG people. Those people were discovered via clips, via YouTube, via VOD, via people sharing stuff. Like, ultimately, the weird thing about live streaming is there is not zero, but there is very little native discovery, meaning that like there's not a huge funnel of viewers just waiting around to find new streamers. And if you just look at the behavior, the user behavior of like your average live streamer and the people listening to the show, they're gonna say, okay, like when I log into Twitch or Kick, I'm going to go look at my follow list. I'm gonna see who I like that's on, and like maybe if they raid somebody and then I particularly like that person, like I'll get those people. But I think the sort of untold, I don't know, this is like a Warhammer 40K level like dystopia, but like the truth is that all of those people from like 0 to 100 viewers are like utterly wasting their time. They should be doing VOD. They should be creating stories on discoverable platforms. They should be posting on X. They like where like top funnel discovery actually exists. And yeah, I don't think you need to solve the discovery problem. I know that's like a kind of a hot take. I don't think Twitch ever solved the discovery problem. I don't know that problem is solvable. The only way that
that's
TikTok
just competition. That's just competition, man.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you have to do these things in order to be competitive in the market as a creator. I mean, you don't tell an NFL player who wants to aspire to be the top performer to go run sprints and do stadium and lift weights and do all the things that it takes to rise. I mean, can we be honest here that this is a very competitive space that takes people going the extra mile to create VODs, to get themselves out there, to dig themselves out of a hole?
Let me be a little bit more let me be like super straightforward, right? The vast majority of broadcasters, I mean like 99% of broadcasters that are grinding 8 hours a day, 60 hours a week or whatever, and they're just live streaming. This is millions of people, by the way.
No, you're
completely wasting their time.
No, I'm not saying grind.
Yeah.
I'm saying what I'm saying is that if I'm doing 8 hours of grind and I'm not getting anywhere, I need to do 3 hours of grind and then 5 hours of self-reflection.
Yes, but editing. That's native to you. But that's not how these creators think. They think that Twitch and Kick is the platform that's going to give them the shot, and by grinding more and creating good content on, it's not a handout. No. It's if I create good live stream content, say you're like, this is the crazy thing, right? You have 100 viewers, you're funny as hell, but scroll down the Fortnite category on Twitch for 3 minutes, that person is never ever going to be found. You could have everything. Like you could be, but if you're not sharing clips, if you're not incentivizing people, if you're not, and like your thought process goes to that because you're an industry pro, like you're a person who understands that. But these broadcasters don't have the education to make that leap, and they think the promise that they're getting to go to a website like Kick is that they're going to make it and that people are going to discover them if their content is good. But like the live streaming system as it is on all platforms, that's not true unless you compare TikTok. But TikTok's only able to do that because they're driving from their base user base, right? They're driving shit tons of people in from TikTok main. So like you literally like scroll through your feed, right? And you go TikTok live stream. So like, yeah, of course they're going to have discoverability, but again, that's not native top funnel discovery, right? That's just existing user discovery.
So I think,
I
think that's kind of just just to bring the conversation around a little bit. I think like to my question around sort of like, do you think that's on purpose? Like when you look at live streaming in particular, and where the majority of that top funnel viewership comes from, to what you mentioned before, it's coming from YouTube, it's coming from X, it's coming from everywhere but the browse and the category section. Because the reality is the user behavior on live streaming is it isn't like YouTube. It isn't in that same sense. It just isn't how it operates, right? So what happens when you're talking about previously about the chance of succeeding just based upon viewership, and that's what's going to actually be the driving factor. I would challenge that a little bit to the extent that saying that just by being at the top of the category is by far and away the complete wrong mentality to growing streaming, right? Like, of course, people can push themselves to the very top there, but the reality is where the viewership comes from with live streaming. And I think this is very much, and again, I can't comment for other, websites, is by design, right? Because what ends up happening is the platforms then subsequently advertised, right? Like Kick has managed to grow an incredibly large following among the active users and whatnot. And that's because people are linking directly into Kick all the time, right? We've got a lot of people say, the creators become their own, they become an advertiser for the platform, right? And I think this is how it's, even Twitch in the early days would have grown heavily, right? And I think again that there's other examples of other websites which do this tremendously, right? They've got zero discoverability. However, they force all their creators to advertise themselves, and that subsequently advertises the website too. So, coming back to this point around sort of, culturally wanting people to feel like, hold on, I need to be able to have a chance. And I guess that's, to your point as well, you mentioned anyone between 0 to 100 viewers looks at live streaming in that light, right? But I think the reality is it's not how it operates on a platform level, and solving for that exactly is maybe even potentially counterintuitive to growth plans and growing an active user base.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that reaching the top is not the optimal way to grow a stream, to your point, or a proper goal. But you, as the platform owner, and you guys as a platform, still have to contend with the thousands of broadcasters that do think that. Like, that's a cultural problem for you. You see?
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
in your opinion, that's a huge driving factor for when people sit there and hold on, I want to make that decision. Is they go, hold on, this place is more view botted, or this one's more view botted.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know for a fact it is. I mean,
to answer that question as well, as you know, let's assume 80% or 50% or 20% of people are view botting. What about the people who do engage in that behavior? What are they thinking?
The people that engage in that behavior?
Yeah.
Like VBot and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's
straight up.
I think you mentioned like out of the 500. I want to be careful misquoting you. You said 500 and 430 were viewbotting, right?
400 to 430. The 30 is because they're it's like the 400. I'm like that's like an obvious number. I can like really reliably point to why I think that. And then there's a subsection of people that are a bit more vague that are kind of difficult. They're either doing it right, or they're propped up by smart agencies, which is what I suspect. We could talk more about that offline at some point, but
there's some interesting stuff with that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm sure you know a lot about that.
You're talking about the people slightly below them who are kind of like still, maybe a little bit oblivious to what's happening in the broader industry, and they're looking at it as I want to trust this place and have the fairest shot. And I guess they see, for example, one individual sitting at 70,000 viewers, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't right." It's going to deter them immediately.
I think one problem is one difference that Twitch has, other than like first mover advantage and the obvious market stuff, is that I do think, and look, I had a very similar problem to what you guys dealt with at a talent level. When I started taking on talent, the first problem I realized was that, well, there isn't a lot of talent that isn't already signed by agencies. So who am I going to go after? Well, I'm going to go after people that are a little bit less brand safe, because those are people that these bigger agencies have decided not to sign because the risk is too high. I'll take that risk, and then I'll see what I can do with these people. And I represented people like Quinn69 and Trainwrecks and people that were considered to be a little bit higher in brand risk, and we did great, right? And now in retrospect, I'm really glad that I represented those people. But at the same time, like, I think Kick has onboarded some people that are like cartoon villain level of fucking evil, right? And like, when you look at, and like, part of your entire ethos has been like, look, we want, to quote, by the way, I know, Santa, what's your real name?
Andrew Santamaria.
Andrew. So and that's a badass name. Okay. So Andrew, so to quote Andrew on this, right? Like, you have a ethos where your terms of service is more for adults, and I respect that, right? But at the same time, when I see like Aiden paying a viewer to beat up his sister on stream, like shit like that, like, right, like that sends a certain message, not only to advertisers but to creators, which I guess what we're talking about right now. Like, fuck the advertisers, we can talk about that for a million years, blah blah blah, brand safety, okay, whatever. Like, there's but ultimately the message that you want to send to creators is like, you don't have to be 100% above board even, but the level of antics on the platform, and I can give like a lot more examples of that, I think do deter creators from thinking that there's a shot here when the content is like pushing like a crypto scam or like some kind of harmful thing or some shit like that. I mean, I don't know how deep we want to go here with individuals. I'm trying not to like throw tons of people under the bus here, right?
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest learning curve for us, right? I think we came into live streaming.
Yeah, it's a hard problem.
And we came in like with this view that, hold on, like, this is so easy. We just, have to allow people to do what they want because, these other platforms are mean and they ban everyone, and how dare they, right? Mm-hmm. And then you quickly learn like, geez, all right, they've got these rules, they've got these terms of service, and they exist for X, Y, Z, all these different reasons that you kind of have to learn take by take, right? And I just want to comment on where Kick is at today. And I think, we have seen the worst of live streaming in terms of some of the people we've attracted. But sure. Nowadays, as somebody who spends, I just genuinely love live streaming, and I'm on Kick just recreationally as a user quite a lot. And browsing the categories, I genuinely believe the place that we're at and the people that are currently streaming, again, maybe to other people's intention, ideas and cartoon villains and whatnot. But I think, the position and the the rules that we're looking to enforce and the type of creator that we're looking to attract, I think has gotten to a really good spot. And correct me if I'm completely off point.
No, you're not. But the problem is that you have to contend with not just the present day, but the entire history of that reality. And so, just to throw the comparison at Twitch, I mean, like recently, Twitch. This is kind of a crazy statement. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think that Twitch has well eclipsed Kick in terms of these kind of cartoon villains. and at this point, you have people that are literally promoting terrorism at the top of Twitch categories and being ignored to do it. It blows my fucking mind. I never thought I'd be in a world where I said that 3 years ago, this would not be on my fucking bingo card, where I said that Kick overall platforms better better is a very subjective term, but more above board broadcasters than Twitch does as a whole. But I think it's safe to say we're getting there. But the fact is that a lot of the creators that are making decisions to stream on your website or not are still using the rubric that was set up by Neon, by Jack, and by these former bad actors, right?
Yeah. No,
yeah.
The simple fact that you mentioned that hey, look, you do believe we're heading in the right direction. If that's by comparison, then
you made me think. You challenged me, and I realized I was wrong on it. I think you're right. I think that I just when I ran it in my head, I was like, fuck, he's right. like I look at Twitch and what they're doing right now, and I'm like, damn, this is a real. I don't know what the fuck is going on over there.
Yeah, no, it's been a huge learning curve, and I think we've got the opportunity to learn from everyone else. But you're right. I think that there's been a playbook that's been written, but I think that playbook hasn't just been written. I think you'll see, and this is my take, and that playbook is being run everywhere. That's just the new way of I think it sort of started 2 to 3 years ago, around about that Kick was found was this new sort of variation of live streaming. It moved from just gaming and just chatting and started entering all these new industries, and on the back of that, people have gotten a little bit different in the way they approach making content, how they elevate their content, how they market it, the agencies involved, the people, the characters, everything involved in it has ultimately changed. I think it's not just specific to Kick. I think Kick has been the forefront, one of the victims of this early on, due to the fact that we were originally very unprepared. But I do think it is very much a broader aspect of just social media in general. I think there's this whole aspect of the whole social media world sort of heading in this direction. We're seeing it everywhere, and it's tough. It's tough. And I think to the point that we started on, right, is Kick needs to fix its cultural standing to attract creators like yourself, right? Like you've sat back and gone, would I stream on Kick? And you've gone, fuck no, I don't want to stream on Kick. I'd rather stream on Twitch. Even though you're sitting here saying, hey, look, they're promoting terrorism, you still subconsciously are streaming on Twitch right now. So, we still got a long way to go, right?
My decision was to stop streaming, to be clear. Like for me specifically, my option was there is no good platform. I'm not going to stream. This stream right now that I'm running is because my stream key was set to Twitch. This is the first stream I've run in like a year or more. And if you looked at my description the entire time, it was, I am literally boycotting what this website is doing. I'll be back when they fix this shit. And I think to this point, that is still my position. And I don't even know where I'm going to end up. Like maybe I'm a consistent live streamer or whatever, but I'll probably just end up on YouTube. And I also think, Eddie, that and one thing I want to. This is a tough subject, I know, but I think another one of these culture issues is the kind of unavoidable reality that this website Kick just cannot exist in its current form without converting some of these users to stake, right? And I know your LTVs at stake, and I think I know your LTVs at Kick, I think that's why we need to build such an aggressive. I think you need to be really aggressive on building an ad system, because I think that when you do demonstrate that path to profitability, even if you're not there yet, it disassociates the gambling connotation that people have for the website and allows these creators to think along those lines of, where do I start streaming first? Okay, hey, there is advertising here. There are separate vendors that support this. I'm not directly stealing souls out of slot machines if I go stream here.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting subject. I love this subject, to be honest with you. I love talking about it.
You do?
I love steak. I love streaming. I love gambling. I love business. I love the whole lot.
Me too, man. The business part. Yeah.
And I just first and foremost want to say, Kick and Steak are run completely independently, right? And I also want to say, if Steak was to cease operating, if Steak was to cease operating tomorrow for whatever reason, Kick is very well funded and has the ability to continue running for years. Like, we're in a very comfortable position.
Impact that? I believe the second part. I don't believe the first part for a second. So they're both under EasyGo. You're the CEO of both companies, and you share executives between the teams. You posted a job. You posted looking for jobs.
So the way that EasyGo is broken up is we've got a we call it the mosaic sort of setup. We have business lines and service lines, right? So we have service lines, we have tech, we have marketing, we have operations, we have governance. So Kick shares the same legal team as say Steak. We don't want to rehire a whole entire same legal team. So we'll break up our legal team into having people like a head of Kick legal, a head of Steak legal, a head of other projects we run. So we've got 8 different business lines, right? Steak is a business line, Steak Social Casinos is a business line, Kick is a business line. And then we have our service lines that go, vertically, right? Which then service our business lines, right? So our business lines are run completely separately. They've got their own profit and loss. This is just like a standard way of operating that many, many businesses do. Because you don't want to build out a completely brand new tech organization every single time you do it. I think a little bit differently.
No, I completely understand. Yeah.
This is very, very normal. So like, I think it's the same way sort of you have Instagram, you have WhatsApp, you have Facebook. They're all different products, but they run on the same engineering organization, or they run the same marketing organization. The same way YouTube does it in Google and the whole lot. I think the only difference, to be fair, is Twitch is a subsidiary of Amazon, therefore has its own like internal system. I don't think they use governance and they have that service line approach. So yeah.
Well, the larger companies like are split into literally effectively separate companies. Like, to use the YouTube example, Neil is literally the CEO of YouTube. Like, there's very little oversight from Sundar on in Google's case, and YouTube runs its own internal team. But for Kick, you posted a job in March 13th, 2023 that was for executives in the Melbourne offices and the European offices that would work on, quote, both Kick and
which
and Steak. So you have executives that are cross-sectional across both companies, right?
So no, which role is this?
It was just a general call for new staff. But you stated
What year?
2023.
2000. Okay,
I can link you guys.
2023 is a long time ago.
Not really. So let's just address the direct question, right?
What world? I just need to catch up here. So basically,
so I'm not trying to do a gotcha, Eddie. I'm not. But I'm trying to say
there'd be 0 individual contributors that would work across it. So you'd have you say the marketing team broken in half. Like, it's you got your service line, you got your business line, right? Like, an individual has to be applied to a cost center, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So all individual contributors will be within either one of the 8 different business lines that EasyGo currently runs, right?
So you're telling me that at an executive level, you have no ICs or direct reports that contribute to both companies simultaneously? Only you?
Yes. No, we've got, I've got direct reports, yes. But they're on the service lines. So that'd be either in marketing, tech, or governance or operations, right? Then you've got your business line that runs their own profit and loss, right? Which is completely separated. But again,
what I'm saying is,
for an efficiencies purposes, yes, executives would be shared across, say, marketing. Executives would be shared across technology. Executives would be shared across legal, like that. We don't want to hire a new CEO, a new CEMO, a new chief of everything. However, we've got what's called the business line owners, right? Which is the equivalent of a general manager, right? If you're comparing to other businesses, or the CEO, right? So both businesses ran very differently.
But those executives, being that they're cross-sectional across both business lines, are beholden to making both companies successful, right? And they're beholden to you, who's the co-founder of both companies, of both. It's like saying the people that work on your look, you own an F1 team, right? Really cool, by the way.
Well, we don't own the F1 team.
My research is inaccurate.
I think that makes a better headline if apparently we own one.
Okay. Well. Look, you've got this Batman thing going on, right? I wouldn't say that your F1 team is incentivized to the people that are working on that and the car and whatever they they do there. I don't know what the fuck they do for racing, but like their incentives, their goals are to win the race, right? In that case, right? But like when you look at something like Stake and Kick, it is, let's just say in this theoretical world we're inventing here, right? It is possible for a live stream viewer to up convert to Stake and start gambling there. If that live stream person happens to be worth about $1,500 to $2,500 on the upper end as an LTV, how can you tell me that the executives that are working at Kick and Stake are not incentivized to drive those users to Stake?
Yeah, well, I think if that was the situation, right, wouldn't the executives of Kick then be running a whole bunch of ads and putting call to actions to drive people directly to Stake, right? I don't think that's the situation. That's
yes,
what first thought we would do, right?
But you're absolutely doing that. What percentage of initial KPP partners did you invite to also have Stake deals? I've seen some of your contracts for Stake, right?
Well, Andrew, you were a part of every single original KPP contract, right? Is there a single KPP contract that has anything about Stake in it?
Nope. Here's the thing. I don't work for Stake, man. There was a very prominent streamer, Nick Merckx, who I think it was convoluted there, where it was kind of like, oh, Nick Merckx gets this Kick Stake combo. And I had to jump in there real quick and be like, hey, man, at no point was this a combo deal. This is two separate deals. Here's the other thing. Like, if a streamer wants to negotiate a Stake deal, like, ask anyone in chat that is a creator that I've done business with. Like, I've brokered NAN 1-0 deals across a combination. They have to reach out to their own Stake POC. They have to go through the rigmarole there. Like, it's completely separate. Like, and here's the other thing. Like, I think there's this misconception that, oh, if you come to Stake, you got to run all these Stake ads. It's like, ask OTK how many Stake ads they ran for their last activation this past weekend. Ask Mr. Beast how many Stake t-shirts we had him wear yesterday during his stream with Aiden. Ask any KPP member, like, how many conversions did they have to make over on Stake on their Kick deal? The answer across all of that is 0. And here's the other thing I will add. Like, to say that Kick wants to do Stake 2.0 in terms of like a vast, easy go portfolio is crazy, man. Stake is doing just fine on its own. Like, my vision and my desire is that Kick uncorks what live streaming can do as a mass consumed media. Like, I'm not concerned with what Stake is doing, man. I don't even care what the crypto market's doing.
There's no way.
What I'm concerned with is, like, how do we compete with Netflix? How do we compete with Hulu? How do we compete with Disney Plus? How do we take the viewing audience and their habits and uncork live streaming? Because
fine,
that's where it's at.
How you compete with those people is that you've got to play the game at a level where you convince those media buyers and those vendors that you are not directly affiliated with a gambling website. Eddie, I've done my research on you, bro. You're a self-made multi-billionaire. You're one of the most impressive people I've ever looked up. You have run the calculus. You know the LTVs on these users. You know the benefit of funneling people to Stake and that it's very hard to get people on gambling websites, that the cost per acquisition of customer is very high if you run traditional advertising, that if you do an XQC deal and he gambles on your website, some percentage of the people are going to go to Stake. You can't tell me in good faith that you don't know that. I know you're smarter than that. You're smarter than me.
Listen, I've always been very, very transparent. Before I got on this stream, I was on Stake, right? I do my Stake stream, I do my Kick stream. I'm involved with Stake. Mm-hmm. I've never tried to remove myself from the fact, and the success of Stake is it's something that I'm involved in every single day, right? So, of course, to begin with, right, Stake was a consumer of Twitch, right? Stake was very, very heavily involved in advertising on top of Twitch. You know, we've seen exactly the benefit that can be gained from that. Of course, Stake will continue to use Kick, right? But again, is that the only single reason we're using it? That's not the case, right? I think that there is a
I understand. I'm in no way claiming that. Yeah,
So I
I'm saying that
I think whilst there's synergies, I think in business, right? In business, the way you always want to look at it is you don't want to go in a direction that has absolutely no synergy or nothing that you can gain from your existing business. You always want to look towards areas where at least there's some overlap, right? Where there makes some sense, where the unit economics start to add up. So of course, we understand exactly what a value of a user is, but it makes me ask this question, right? So if you're telling me that apparently if Kick only exists in a theoretical world, Kick only exists to service stake and that it can drive traffic to stake and remain profitable. Do you think that's a sustainable model?
Hold on, I didn't assert that. So I didn't say the Kick only exists to. I understand and I qualified your passion for live streaming outside of your association with stake, and I acknowledge that, right? Like you've proven individually, and I think your team has proven, to Andrew's point, that like that you guys, and I genuinely believe when Andrew says I don't work for stake, man. Like I believe that, right? Like I know you have your business lines. I understand that too. I ran a 200-person company. Like I get it, right? Like at the same time though, I think that some of the initial reason that Kicks started going and became possible was because you were able to justify that at an LTV level to convert those people up to stake users, which is fine. I'm actually not judging you for that. But what I'm saying is that if you want to play with these characters like Netflix, you can't. You've got to divorce yourself from that association, and Kick has to have its own path to profitability. Straight up,
yeah.
right?
Well, I think we're showing that. I think we're showing that from an action perspective, right? Because like I'll use the best version here is say Turkey. Kick has 90% of the Turkish live streaming market. Did you know that stake is completely banned? Gambling is banned. You cannot access or view or even see slot streams. You can't even see gambling.
With Mina.
Can't you use VPN?
Sorry?
Can't you use VPN?
Well, I guess they could VPN if they really want to watch live streams, but there's not a single person even live streaming gambling in Turkish, because the moment they do that, then the Turkish government comes to us and tells them to ban them, right? So
but there's people gambling in Turkey on stake.
But there's not a single Turkish. If you go to the gambling section right now, you will not find a single Turkish live stream of anyone.
Yeah, because
gambling.
It's not allowed. But I'm saying this. We're not talking about that. You don't make money off that. You make money off the users on stake.
But there's absolutely nothing to gain from that, right? So we're investing into a
yes,
market.
Yes, there is. It's Turkish gamblers on stake. They're just using VPNs.
But you come to Kick, you cannot see any live streams in the gambling section. It is banned in Turkey, right? Because the Turkish government said to us, basically you have to ban this. So you cannot see Turkish live streams. If you use a VPN and you end up going to that section, you then have no one speaking Turkish, unless I guess you want to watch an English streamer or whatever, right? Which is, again, a very, very small percent. Yet we have 90% of that market. We continue to invest in it. I think that, again, shows our determination to invest in markets where there's zero synergy. And I think, again, we can sit here and say everything, but I think that's a great actionable item that says, hold on, wait a second, what's Kick doing then? And it goes to show that we have a game plan outside of that, right? I think there is a long-term option to be able to monetize Turkey in a way which is going to work with every other market exactly the same, right? So, I think that is always going to, it's same with about 6 other countries as well. France as well, you can't access any of these sections. Germany can't access any of these sections, continues to be, a large growing sector for us. So, we're completely decoupled in singular markets where we have to be, and we continue to invest money into those areas. So, on the back of that, I think that action speaks far louder than any words would ever be said, right? But to your point, yes, of course, stake will continue to exist on top of Kick. Stake will always be able to look at live streaming. It looks at YouTube. It looks at Facebook. It looks at any medium for that matter to be able to turn a marketing positive return, right? So I think, again, it comes back to if we wanted to know, if we looked at lifetime values and everything, and we looked at this in a perfect world, if Stake was one entity or one singular road, we would take everything we invested in Kick, and there's about 1,000 other ways to invest that would have made more sense from a single perspective of Stake. But again, I understand where you're coming from, because it's about being that public perception. I think to that point, Kick has been that public perception, because we don't even have that brought up anymore, right? So it's been a while since even having this discussion with anybody, because people honestly nowadays look at them separately. Maybe, people like yourself who are very much involved in the industry.
Because people don't want to challenge you. There's no one on the show that's been able to challenge. You're a fucking billionaire. Everyone around you is going to be sycophants, dude. That's like, I know you know that. Like, that's one of the most difficult things you have to deal with at someone at your level, right? Like nobody wants to challenge this issue, but they still think it. The reason I'm here is because
I'm not basing it on discussions on the show, right? I'm talking about just in general. To begin with, of course, we had this huge problem with bringing anyone over the Kick because they're like, this is gambling. But again, I think that noise is declining, and maybe you can comment on that. Do you hear that as much as you used to? Is it something that you hear people associating it with? Of course, every now and again, you'll hear people saying, hey, look, Kick and Stake, but I don't think it's a subject that is nearly as talked about or worried about or a top mind concern for people when they're picking a platform as maybe it was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago even.
Okay, so the key word that you said there was when they're picking a platform, because I think you're right in terms of the overall conversation moving away from Kick, moving to, I guess, because we're moving forward, moving Kick to a separate standalone platform that isn't dependent on Stake and isn't like affiliated with Stake. That separation is happening at a sort of macroscopic level in the conversation of like live streaming, but at a creator level is still very real. And I guarantee you that pretty much every small creator, and like I don't like obviously have data on this, but just anecdotally, I mean, I'm one of the authorities on small creators across YouTube, and I've worked with I like Novo Nexus. We had 4,000 small creators that we gave sponsorships to. Like I've talked to so many of these people. It is top of mind for them that Stake is associated and affiliated with Twitch, Stake is associated and affiliated with Kick in a very real way, and that's what is paying them today in July 2025. Yes.
So how would you advise that we change those people's mind? Like, what would you think is the solution? Is there a solution?
Yes, of course, yeah. And I don't think the solution is stop being affiliated with Stake completely. I mean, the first part of it, I think, and I think we've made some progress on this show, at least more than I've seen so far, that you can't obfuscate that relationship. That you are the co-founder of both of those things. So if you are not really transparent about your association, and you kind of do the PR thing where it's like, well, you know, we're not technically affiliated because they're separate business lines and sort of things like that. No one is going to buy that at face value. And like, so part of it is, and look, this is something that I think Twitch made a huge mistake on that I think you can correct, and that you have corrected, which is that like a big problem with the people that represent Twitch at a very high level, Emmett Shear and now Dan Clancy, is that like they are not great personalities to be front-facing CEOs. Dan's a nice guy, but he's not a dude that can like convince people to like really be behind something in a movement like Gates did in his time, or like Sundar is doing for Google, or like Elon is doing, right, for X, right? Love him or hate him. I think that you've bridged that gap by doing shows like this, but that you haven't been as completely transparent as you should be about this affiliation, respectfully. And I think that's part one. So I do think some of the onus is on the person who is the leadership that is communicating this outward to those creators. Part one, and then part two.
Part one before you go.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
literally my name on fucking X is Stake Eddie. I've got a big Stake logo. I've got co-founder of Stake. I did like the Stake weekly stream before this one. I like quite literally cannot be any more transparent that I'm Eddie from Stake. Like I'm Staked first and foremost, and then Kick is my fucking passion. I love it, right? But I don't know how much more transparent I can make that.
A lot more, because when we first started this conversation, I mean, you were telling the party line of like, well, like these two platforms are not affiliated, and I got you to acknowledge LTVs and like to make ground on this. I think if you were to go into the chats now, I'm not reading the chat. I haven't seen it, but I know like if you were to pull like a community on this and be like, do you guys think that there is a strong like that there is like a disconnect between like the way you present yourself as a representative of Stake and Kick and this association with those platforms, you would get a fairly straightforward response that they do feel like there's a disconnect there. Would you agree with that?
A disconnect in how it's represented?
A disconnect in that you are not and again, I'm not trying to criticize you directly. I want to say again, my objective here is ultimately really to benefit Kick, because if we get through this problem, we get creators to start trusting your platform and streaming there. So that's my objective. Okay, I'm not trying to do a gotcha. This isn't a CNN thing. Like this isn't 60 Minutes. Like the reason I'm saying this is because I legitimately think that this is a barrier to a lot of creators making a decision to this and the other thing I was going to mention, to join the platform. And that if you are transparent, that it's like right now, Stake is the platform that is propping up Kick, and it is possible because of Stake but we are moving in a pathway towards profitability, towards advertisers, towards building better systems, towards correcting the mistakes that other platforms before us didn't do. Then I think that will give streamers more confidence to move forward with the platform.
I completely agree with you on every level. And I think that's been quite literally the mantra we've had from the get-go is like ruthless transparency, right? We've never tried to pretend that hold on, Stake and Kick aren't connected. Of course, that was something we thought about in the beginning. It's like, okay, why not build these completely separately, try to keep it? It was like, no, fuck no. Let's keep things as transparent as possible. And it goes without saying, where is the funding from Kick coming from? There's quite literally public registers that says exactly what the ownership of Kick is, exactly what the ownership of Stake is, and it's not a hidden secret, right? Everyone understands that's the situation. But the conversation that we've just spent an hour or so having was on the future of advertising, how to do it better.
Yes.
How can live streaming be much bigger than it is? And the simple fact that Kick is a massive bet on the fact that live streaming has so much more potential than currently being utilized anywhere else, right? And that's what we're going to continue to do. But again, I hear you loud and clear, and I think, you know, some people just hate gambling, and I completely respect that. I'm absolutely fine with that. We've had to deal with that for 10 years. Like, even when it comes to recruiting people, we lose like, you know, 70% of people who won't refuse to join a gambling company or gambling affiliated company. We get the stigma, we understand that. But, you know, as time's gone on, the one thing we've realized is the best thing to do is just own who you are. I think a lot of platforms, a lot of companies get caught up in trying to become something that they're not. And try to pretend to be something that they're not. And we've always owned from the very get-go, this is what we're aiming to achieve, this is what we're doing, and we've always stuck to it, right? So again, I'll challenge you on that. I think we can't get much more transparent than what we're doing. We see a future, a huge future in live streaming and advertising and being able to monetize Kick. But yes, of course, Stake exists and Stake will continue to exist, and we're never going to pretend it's not. And I think that's the that's the difference here. But again, I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I'm
Devin,
not sure what exactly you think should be said, but I take this as notes because
the radical
really
transparency that you
the
radical transparency that you just echoed is what needs to happen. It's just I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just haven't seen that level of communication and the way that you put it today. At least in my research of before I came on the show.
Okay, real quick. So Devin, you are all right. Let's just level set here. How many questions did we screen from you?
Screen in what sense?
Like screened in like, hey, why don't you send over the questions that you want? Oh yeah,
zero,
ask?
Of course, yeah.
Right, and how many questions did we give you that you should feed Eddie?
Yeah, zero. Yeah,
zero. Okay, so this is an open, honest conversation.
I'm not denying that.
my point I'm driving is that we have done this with all other 51 guests and plus that have come on. You are not the first person to ask Eddie this question, and if you if we go back, I guarantee you will find at least 20 clips of Eddie saying this exact same thing to 20 other people. All right. The other thing I want to map out is that we have taken great strides in, like, you know, all right, we do business in MENA, we do business in Turkey, where gambling is not pervasive at all, right? The other thing is we have tools where you can completely hide gambling, right? When you open up an account, like even now, you could say, I want to get rid of gambling. It was so successful for us that we also added pools and we added VR chat, which are like, can be really edgy for advertisers also, right? The other thing is I think we also lose the fact that we're only like 2.5 years old. And I think that there is this comparison to Twitch that we have to be ready rolling out of the box immediately, right? And then you combine that with, like, let's just be honest, like the average creator now is 33 years old. At some point, we have to just start treating people like an adult, like saying, like, look, if you want to gamble on stream, gamble on stream. If you want to have a beer on stream, have a beer on stream. If you want to talk about how fucked the economy is and why you got to pay a mortgage and why your old lady's complaining at you and like you're having your second kid, my point is that this ain't Nickelodeon anymore, man. Like, creators have grown up. The days of Justin TV, where 12-year-olds are watching Justin Kahn act a fool with a juice box in their hand, they're mature now, man. This is HBO now, man. And I think that that's a thing that people don't want to talk about is like, if people want to gamble, they got to gamble, right? If people want to do what they want to do as an adult, let them just be and let them do it. But as far as kick and stake goes, man, my vision, and I know that I've shared, a lot of the execs internally have shared the same vision, is like, we want to compete as a media conglomerate. And I totally hear you in what you're saying, that if we want to compete as a media conglomerate, then we have to
play the
clean
game.
up some of these things.
Yep.
I agree with you, but there's other ways to play the game also, Devin. Like this idea of running,
not at the level you want to play it. There's only one.
But this idea of running 8-minute roadblock ads on streams is not the way to do it. There's
no one's talking about that. No one said anything about that.
But my point is that we're talking about like these traditional ways, and we haven't even cracked it where we can start moving into like AI ads, or we can start looking at like monetizing the way Discord or the way Fortnite or Epic Games monetizes through their viewer incentives and things of that nature, right? My point is like, I think that if you give Kick a chance, and if you dive more into Kick, right, and your numbers, right, then some of the numbers that you're portraying, right, like I think that if you've self-admittedly, like, I've not analyzed Kick the way that I've analyzed Twitch. I think that if you start jumping into the culture, and I want to invite you to come stream on Kick, right? That's the best way to learn about it. If you start looking at it, you're like, oh, like, this stuff that I'm thinking that was this way is like, I'm reading headlines. One last point I want to make is that
you understand, real quick, you understand I'm like one of the foremost authorities. I'm not reading headlines, bro. I'm one of, like, I'm straight up I am the fucking headline. What are we talking about?
I also understand. I also understand
like, that's crazy.
I also understand that you wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole until you left Novo. And I also
of course, because I represent, but that in itself is my argument, dude, is because I'm representing brands like Samsung who won't touch Kick either. Why? Because you guys have to beat this perception. But
don't you think that there's some degree of brands having to realize that maybe they don't know the market, that the market is growing up, that this market of live streaming is evolving? Like no? At some point we have to go away from Nickelodeon. We have to. Do you
think that IPG is stupid? Or Omnicron or Novo? Like we run the advertising dollars. We know what converts and what doesn't.
But we haven't even opened up our advertising arm. So
you're beholden to the same live streaming metrics that TikTok Live and YouTube is. Like do you think that you're going to have meaningfully different conversions and stats?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Because the same way YouTube did it, the way that YouTube got out of their ad apocalypse, and the way that the TikTok got out of their stigma, Kick will do the exact same thing. You just got to give it time. We're only been around for 2.5 years. You're comparing 45 years. You're between TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. You're comparing 45 years of live streaming or streaming experience against our 2.5. You just got to let us uncork things, and it's coming.
Let them cook.
Let it cook, man.
Let them cook. Yeah. Look, like I wouldn't even. I got invited to be an advisory on a lot of live streaming teams. I would not be here on this show today if I didn't believe that you guys have the capability to do that. We're not like, but what I'm saying is that like at the core of my ethos on things, I'm a marketer, right? Like I want to study and I want to understand attention. And attention is two things. It's both the reality of the situation, which I agree with you guys completely. Like you have taken steps to move this stuff forward. You have issued radical transparency in recent years. You guys are on this track, right? And you haven't had a lot of time to do it. But there is still this, like what I'm challenging here is that there is still this perception that exists. And that if we don't address that perception and look at ways to actually fix that perception, you may have aspirations of contending with Netflix and these major media players. But the game that those guys are in is very narrow at the top and has very preset rules, right? Like I'm all for, I don't know, like I don't like really believe the narrative that like, okay, like we're gonna do it drastically different. Like if you believe that you can like reinvent advertising or do something that I haven't suggested, like tell me how, right? Like show me the path, and I'll jump on board. But I think with your combined, my ethos here is that if combined with radical transparency, if you guys start building and doing blog posts and tech posts and engineering posts about how you're building an advertising system that accomplishes the 4 KPIs that I said, and start showing people that, you will find that creators will implicitly start to trust that path more than the previous path, which is stake dependent. That's what I'm saying. And that's my goal. I mean, like I like ultimately that's only going to benefit your platform, right?
Yeah, no, I think right now, Kick loses an absolute shit ton of money, and we want to turn that around, and we need advertising. And I think advertisement serves two-prong, right? A, brings revenue, and B, I think addresses that problem, right? And it's not an if, it's a when, right? And it's how it's done and how it's executed. And it comes back to, our discussion before about effectively, utilizing advertisement in a way which makes sense for live stream, which makes sense, for the people who are actually buying those ads. And again, it's gonna be an uphill battle, right? I think we haven't even began to work with the Omnicons of the world and the all these brands like Samsung that obviously won't touch us because they're like, okay, these guys are loosely associated with gambling, therefore no, right? Like we get that, right? It's a fucking crazy world up there, and we got an uphill battle.
It is.
But I must say, like,
it's
the one
literal
thing
Illuminati shit. Yeah,
man. The one thing about Kick is it's been on a fucking uphill battle from like day dot, man. Like we've been getting kicked whilst we're down. Like it is like the most hated business. I must say, if anyone had to put a bet on Kick being around in like 3 years when we first launched,
nobody would have taken it. Yeah.
Would anyone have fucking bet on us? I must say,
the polymarket odds would have been fucking crazy.
We
yeah.
continue to be the underdogs. And I'll tell you what, like again, we get it, man. It's like it's a fucking hard industry, and I know Amazon struggles to figure it out, and they complain about stuff, and YouTube. Like everyone's struggling, but I think we can pull it off. Like we will continue to go uphill, and we will face these challenges as they come. We haven't even started the foray into advertisement, and the platform will change. It will change, and that's unfortunate in many regards because we fucking love going around talking about it. Hey, it's an ad-free experience, and viewers can do X, Y, and Z, and all this kind of stuff. It's gonna suck for the core experience, but it has to be done, right? It has to be done to be able to, like you said, A, from a reputation perspective, and B, from a simple monetization and sustainability perspective. But I wish we had the answers for you right now and could say we've got this golden bullet, but we're gonna have to learn the hard way and make our way through it. But I'm really confident that we can. We can pull it off, and even this discussion has enlightened me to the fact of where that bar has been set previously.
Like I said, if that's all I accomplish from here, I've succeeded, because if I've given you more confidence to realize that you could put together a ragtag team of like Guardians of the Galaxy to build this product for you way faster than you think, and you'd outcompete Twitch within a few months, that's very true. You can do it, and that's why I was so confused coming into this until I talked to you a little bit about like why Kick hasn't done that. Like I think maybe you guys felt like that was a far more sophisticated problem than it actually is. Like you can solve that problem that way. Can I ask you, have you ever like put this down as like a blog post or like here's like a direction that we are going at Kick, and like the kind of plan we have to build creator trust? Has there been communication outside of like you talking about it while you're on a stream or something, or gambling or something? Like, has there been like a PR initiative that like a press release, like anything that you have communicated this to me that you're talking to me about now? Because like when I hear this from you, that fucking inspires me, bro. It would inspire other creators too, and like that you're building these systems, that you're interested in this. Have you done that?
Putting it out in a blog officially, no, right? I think we talk about it internally
no press releases
all the time,
why?
right? And even we try to externally to whatever the 1, 2, 3,000 people that watch this stream every now and again. But yeah, no, we haven't. Maybe that's a really great idea.
So you see the problem, right? Like that's why the perception is the way it is. It's like to the casual, like and I understand what you were saying, Andrew, but like you have to, like, that's what I mean by reality versus perception, right? Is like there's both a reality of what you guys are doing, there's a reality of what the market thinks, and there's a perception of what the market thinks. And like you said, Eddie, 100% correctly, you guys have been fighting an uphill battle from day fucking one. And like, dude, I respect I honestly, like, from the bottom of my heart, I have nothing to gain from you. I love my fucking life. I don't need anything. I respect the hell out of you for taking the fight against Twitch, for starting a live streaming platform, and proving through the amount of money you've given the creators and from the shit that you've done that you really want to be creator first, right? So like I see that in you, talking to you as like a fellow industry person. But like when that starts to come outside, goes outside of the show and like goes into like the real world and stuff like that, that perception gets more and more skewed because, to Andrew's point, people are headline readers, right? And so structuring the headlines and creating the sort of like the press narrative that you are moving in this direction officially, is something that will really go a long way to changing people's perception. And then you got to back it up, right? Which is I think why Dan Clancy posts something last week about like, we're doing something about viewbots. Go look at the comments. Like there's not a single person that believes they're doing something about viewbots, right? Like that's because they have done these official press releases. They communicated correctly about what they want to do, but at the end of the day, they did not back it up with actual action. So eventually the bill comes due to be paid. But you guys are on the first step of that, which is just the communication part, just like transparently putting it out there in PR and marketing and saying, this is the direction we are going. We want to build trust with creators. We want this to be the platform that you think of first when you want to stream somewhere. And here's how we think we're going to do that. And it's not just you make more money. It's not just 95-5 splits. Yeah, that shit's great. Believe me, they're running that calculus already. And so everybody that likes money is already here, right? Like that's heard about you, right? But the total addressable market is solved. The people that are on the fence are the people that are like, I'm not sure want to be associated with gambling. I'm not sure about where this money is coming from. I'm not sure if I'm selling my soul to like slot machines. That's the calculus they're running. And that's the PR you got to combat.
So real quick, I did pin Eddie's Medium page where he does post his thoughts periodically.
Yeah, that's a bit old.
That's
I've been posted that for like a year and a half.
Yeah, that's like the closest thing we got. I think, but to your point, I think you're right. I think that there's something there where, you know, if we're pontificating this stuff on TikTok and it's a talking point that you are relating to, like, I don't think that there's any reason why we shouldn't, like, you know, do a little press tour, some releases that maybe takes the best of all these conversations and clips and just kind of formalizes them out into the public. Yeah. Or
I'll do you one better. Like here's the thing that you guys have that nobody else has. You have a fucking tolerable front-facing CEO. Like, holy shit, imagine it, right? Like you have Eddie who can go on shows, who can talk like a real human being and have these transparent conversations, right? Like, so go on the major creator podcasts, like go on what is it, Colin and Samir? Is that who those guys are? Let me find them. The massive YouTube channel that like interview, yeah, Colin and Samir, right? Like these guys, 1.5 million subscribers. Have you heard of these guys? They have Mr. Beast on. They have all these people, right? Do a show about your platform. They'd love to have you and do an hour and a half interview with the focus of being like, hey, like my focus here is to show how we're moving forward in these areas and these initiatives, right? Run a podcast circuit, run a PR circuit, and like just and like see your creative numbers go up. Like it's not a mistake that 90,000 people are streaming on Twitch right now. Versus the 14,000 on Kick. It's not just because they have first mover advantage. That is a large part of it, but also a lot of new users are streaming on Twitch, right? And it kind of pisses me off. It actually really pisses me off because all of those people are kind of being sold a bad egg, right? Like they're starting those streams with a genuine belief that they're going to become something, grow into something and start a career there, and fucking the vast majority. I think we did the math one time on my broadcast, and it was something like you are more likely to win the lotto like 4 or 5 times than become a broadcaster that makes minimum wage. I mean, it's like an incredibly fucked statistic, right? And so like the fact that you guys have such a more competitive KPP program and you're able to do splits so much better and you're able to pay people out and in my opinion already a superior way than what Twitch does with their advertising CPMs. I think that has been the leading marketing push that you have focused on, and you've succeeded. And now everyone that is a creator on Kick, it understands that benefit, but doesn't see how you're building the path to profitability and the path to a sustainable platform that they can trust they'll be on for 5 to 10 years from now.
No, well, it's a really refreshing view, right? I think, I'll be honest, I think from my side, and maybe this is just, and again, I respect the point of view you're coming from, saying you've very recently represented 4,000 of these, people who exactly our addressable market, and that this is a real worry for them. I genuinely believe that the Gambling Association and Stake and Kick was something that was kind of left to the point where it wasn't front of mind, right? I think I'm under the impression that the biggest thing people have front of mind when it comes to switching platform is the simple fact that you have to start over again, that there's less viewership on Kick,
that there's you know, you have to fight that stigma and that cultural component that you mentioned before. I didn't realize that it was, you know, so heavily focused around what's the business plan for Kick. I thought we'd somewhat gotten over that, but if you're telling me that you're hearing that and that's real signals coming from real creators, then heck, you know, that's incredibly enlightening. I think we can go. You know, man, I'll be honest. I just fucking love talking about live streaming. I'd have this same conversation with you offline for like 5 hours if you wanted to, right? Like, I just love the industry. 100%. I love business. I love talking about this sort of stuff. So whether that means a podcast, whether that means just writing it up and publishing it, if people are genuinely interested and you think that's going to sway it, then I'm going to get off this. Well, I'll probably first head to bed, but then I'll wake up in the morning and start figuring out how to do that, because it sounds like a great plan. You know, I hear you loud and clear on that, and take note. I think that's, you know, a really clear directive, and I think it's a blind spot that we have, and I think maybe that comes from the simple fact that maybe we're stuck in a bit of an echo chamber with our creators, and we look at the growth numbers and we look at, you know, the real number of viewers on the website continuously growing. We're like, fuck, we must be doing something right. But if I guess if it could be far higher, then shit, we need to get ahead of that, because at the end of the day, we're you know, nothing that gets said here isn't something that we would obviously be more than happy and more than open to share as publicly as possible. And I think that's incredible advice. I think we'll take it.
Major respect, man. That we came to that, and I really appreciate that. I mean, like, I think that a big part of what Twitch tried to do, and what was so powerful for them, and I don't know, like, I remember in 2012, 2015, Bleed Purple, right, was like a fucking class motto. Andrew, you probably remember this shit. Like the feeling of community on the first live streaming platforms, on like Justin TV, on like Twitch, couldn't be beat, and it reflects in the stats, right? Like, the average user spends 125 minutes on Twitch from 2020 to 2023. Like, it's like a crazy amount of time compared to other platforms. Like for perspective, a person on TV spends 16 minutes, right? Like, it's not even close. A person on Facebook spends 7 minutes. Like the community aspect you can build, I think Twitch took advantage of by continuously pulling from those people and saying, trust us, we're going to do something. And then that something just never coming. And so that if you, like, the reason I say that is because people will actually give you a lot of benefit of the doubt on things like discoverability, on things like total viewership. And like, if a platform looks like a place where that is like growing and moving in the right direction, in the exact same way, like, look at maybe a good analogy for this is like local business. Okay. So like, look at like a county where the government supports small businesses, subsidizes build outs, gives discounts on warehouse space, hosts get-togethers for those businesses. Creators are essentially small business owners, right? I mean, they're entertainers running their own thing, and so ultimately, like, the decision they're going to make is kind of based on like the local community. When we were selecting offices for Novo, I was paying $18,000 a month in Seattle to a county that didn't give a shit about me. Right. And so when I moved to Dallas, Texas, the county that I'm in was like, dude, we'll subsidize your build outs. We'll do everything for you. Like, we really want you to be here. We have all these get togethers you can go to so people can discover you if you need customers. Like, that kind of communication, Twitch has paid like lip service through like dumbass shit like Creator Camp and stuff like that like nobody ever believes. It's like so DEI'd and so just like misses the mark and is obviously not like creator first. That if you literally do anything that shows that kind of long-term path of initiative of like Devin Nash can build his business, or, you know, Dragon Slayer XXY69 can build his business on Kick. Here's like our path. Here's the resources that we have available for you to do that. Here's our education, which is another like huge section we didn't even get into that I think is a massive part of it. Then people will start to instill confidence in people. And if you do that right, Eddie, people won't even remember the gambling affiliation. The whole 70% number of people not being associated, they won't even care, because the culture will be so good on Kick, they won't give a shit.
Yeah, well, I think what you mentioned there, right, is simply, you know, actions and not words, right? And that's simply what builds true community, that builds loyalty. even to that point, I think, using a real example right now, investing in Kick creators, obviously you're aware and you've seen this happen with all the upcoming clipping and all that kind of stuff. That's a huge thing in streaming. Like right now, Kick, for example, has like a clipping server, right? Where anyone who's on Kick gets immediate access and we, help subsidize their growth and all that kind of stuff. So we're already doing that kind of stuff, right? And thinking of unique and innovative ways to kind of get ahead of that, because obviously live streaming discoverability is a complicated problem. So this was something, we invented on the back of that and helping to get all of our creators, anyone that streams on Kick, their sort of name out there. So yeah, maybe talking more about that. I think that's not even a known thing. You probably didn't even know about that. It's why
I didn't know. I mean,
maybe why you see a disproportionate number of Kick clips versus Twitch clips on, if you do get those on your feed ever.
So Twitch has paid me thousands of dollars to fucking look at their own watch and tell them what time it is on this. Like, where I was like, dude, literally build a Reddit style like clip arena where people can upvote clips internally. Like, why is our live stream fail the main point of discoverability for live streamers? like holy fuck, I have to depend on the degenerates over there. My life is over, right? I still don't understand to that day why that hasn't, like, there are on this tree, there are very low hanging fruits that I feel like nobody has gone for. And then there's some higher ones, but like, I feel like, is the system that you're talking about, is it an upvote system? Like how are those clips actually selected?
So no, it's complete. So it's outside of product, right? So you know how you see a whole bunch of clips on everywhere of streamers, right? Doing stuff and then captioned and, Kai Cenat did this or Aiden Ross did that or whoever, right? You see all those caption clips?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those clips on whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff, there's a culture behind it where people are paid for it, right? They're incentivized to post certain stuff, right? So Kick runs one of the biggest incentive programs for that, which is costing several, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. And anyone who's on Kick is eligible for it. So it suddenly has every one of these massive pages with these huge followings looking for viral moments to post, right? So again, this is a little bit different to the I know exactly what you're talking about from the product led sort of way of like maybe reimagining what a homepage could look like, or even just a section of the website, which could potentially, curate clips in a somewhat digestible way other than utilizing third-party platforms. But no, this is like a way of investing into creators and helping to build them up. There's been some really great success stories of some upcoming guys who are doing really, really well, guys and girls rather, who have done really well. And that's been on the back of like becoming quite well known on all these, whether it's TikTok or X and whatnot, because of these clipping servers, right? And the initiatives that we have and this incentives that we offer these pages. So, again, you're talking about it like investing into creators and talking about it. Yeah, maybe we need to talk about this stuff more. I think, something that has never been, done before, but we'll continue to do it. Look for innovative ways. I think the live streaming space is just changing consistently, and we need to remain ahead of it. And I think we've got a really great opportunity to lean into these new ways of helping creators grow. And because if they grow, then of course we kind of win too.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've learned so much in this conversation, and I think one of my biggest takeaways is that you can move so much faster than a lot of these bigger bureaucracies, and there is to some extent like the growing pains and the learning pains that you're talking about. But also I think that fundamentally this is a communication issue. In that I don't know if it's like a YouTube channel. I don't know if it's PR and like press releases. I don't know if it's a podcast circuit. I could think more about it, but or if it's a combination of all those things. But I think putting out there what this stuff is that you're working on, and maybe internally prioritizing more of your service lines and your business lines to be directed towards getting this product out there. Dude, you don't have to outcompete your competitors in this space. How slow these guys are innovating, right? They're not the last time that Twitch or YouTube Live implemented I think the last time that YouTube Live implemented any kind of sincere technological improvement was at least 6 months ago. It might have been a year. And Twitch for that matter, I think they just updated, like I said, they just updated their mobile app for the first time in 7 years. Everyone hated the update. You aren't it's like on one hand, it's live streaming is a very competitive space. At the same time, it feels like like the Superman movie Lex Luthor clip with all the angry monkeys like typing on keyboards. I don't know what these guys are doing over there.
That is a great analogy, man. That is a fan. Eddie, if you haven't seen the movie yet, the latest Superman, Lex Luthor, like there's like a bridged universe, and they're floating by, and he's just got these wall of monkeys just trolling the hell out of it.
Great. Well, I think it's a really great point. I think it's probably what attracted us as well in the early days, because I say this every time, right? The one thing we figured out when we were working with a lot of Twitch creators before Kick is everyone was disgruntled, right? People had their reasons for being unhappy, whether it was lack of communication, whether it was lack of, whatever the situation was, there was this one solid message that people weren't happy. And that was like, hold on, from a business perspective, there's an opportunity here, right? There's, from whatever lens you look at, from a simple service perspective, product perspective, there's an opportunity here if all the customers are saying the same thing, right? So, I think from the very get-go, we've certainly realized that. I think it again comes back to this bet that we're making, right? We're making a massive financial bet that hold on, this industry, A, can be won and can be grown, and B, it can, also be monetized, right? And I must say, sorry, go on.
How many people do you actually have on product? Like whose sole job is to improve the product and like pitch you on shit and then actually roll that out if implemented?
Product, we would have 6 people on product, but engineering would be about 40. So about 50 people across both engineering, product, and product design.
So I think thank you for the straightforward answer. So running a CDN is hard, even with IVS. People don't understand that. So I understand that those engineers' jobs probably are almost entirely kept with just keeping the fucking service alive. So I think from an R&D perspective, like if you invest and again, sorry, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. Actually, I guess I am trying to do it. So I guess, fuck it. I'm not going to pretend that. So just take it as you will. I'm not saying I'm smarter than you. You're the billionaire with the F1 team. Okay. But if I can help, I will. But like just being in this a long time. I think more R&D going towards marketing on this PR circuit, A, and then B, like more R&D going towards tech, and maybe even doubling that team and like going to that team and being like, look, can we get some solid KPIs for build outs of things like the advertising system, so that I can then echo that to the community and we can be held accountable for that, would be very productive. Totally correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not in your business. I'm just trying to help.
I think, the first point around sort of the marketing and the rollout from the PR side, I think that's a blind spot and duly noted. I think in terms of tech product, I think that's the one thing we've been talking about for the longest time is being able to compete on that front and build that out really well. It is, again, it is a harder problem to solve than just throwing an engineer at the problem or 50.
I know, yeah.
Right? So it's scaling engineering and good product organizations is difficult. I think Kick also has been. If we could do this whole thing again, we would have like spent like 2 years like building out the perfect product, opposed to like launching it and then having to keep like the cert. Like the bottom line is, regardless of whether you're using like Amazon for AWS for like your infrastructure, your cloud solutions and stuff, still like maintaining any kind of like software that manages hundreds of thousands of concurrent users and all kinds of
trying to break things,
attacks and building out everything at the same time, and then moving from say a monolithic code base to microservice, everything like that is a really difficult thing that we're kind of fighting like 5 battles on the same front. So we've spent this like last 2.5 years really just focusing on the core foundation, but I think come the end of sort of, and I hate saying dates because we have been a little bit unreliable on product and engineering related dates due to some of like the technical problems we've had in delivering and having to address simple stuff like technical debt and stuff like that. But anyway, on that we do look towards sort of whether it's end of this year, early next year, being highly focused just simply on innovation, right? And being able to run very simple experimentation sort of models, right? We have the opportunity not only to lean into an experimental model of product development, but do so rapidly because there isn't, say, 50 layers of approval. There's quite actually one layer of approval. Those 6 product people
I sit fucking like 50 meters away from every day, right? Like, you know, it's really easy for us to work and move fast and test and trial and fail fast and all these kind of things that startups and a lot of tech companies typically do really well, but in live streaming, it doesn't exist because there are no startups, there are no companies that can move fast. So I think, yeah, leaning into that and having the resources to do so would be amazing. And we're really looking forward to doing it because I think, yeah, honestly, you look at live streaming and it really hasn't changed much in 10 years. And, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I think it's bad. I'm sure there's reasons.
It's bad.
I'm sure there's so much that can be done. Like,
yeah,
I think the coolest example is you can look towards like, and again, I'm not saying this is perfect, but like, you know, Asia is doing crazy cool stuff in live stream. But TikTok, of course, I think is the only person that's come along in the last few years to actually try stuff new, and they're crushing it, right? Everything they do just works, and it just goes to show that I think, yeah, there's a way to apply that to this sort of. I like to think that TikTok and say Kick have very different live streaming demographics or audiences. They're just slightly different cultures. Maybe that'll change, but you know, you can apply some of this. So. Hear you super loud and clear on that one. I think, yeah, we're really looking forward to being able to come out and be like, hold on, guys, like we've done X and hopefully, you know, it's up to. I think a good example actually is, you know, we recently added like rewind or whatever, right? And then suddenly, like I guess, like you know, now that's something which is. Again, such an easy uplift. It was so simple, so simple, right? Such a fucking simple thing, but everyone's like, whoa, this is crazy. Like people were so happy, like rewind, like it blew their minds. But it was like, dude, it was like one person took like half a week to implement that, right? Like it was like the most simple thing. But you know, there's so much opportunity for features like that to be released, which can, you know, I think we can lean into and just change that narrative opposed to being like, hold on, this is just a company which maybe is like the Wild West due to content or is associated with gambling. They're like, oh, these guys are innovators. Like, I think that's a really great narrative to be able to lean into. And I think that has to only be done through actually releasing great product updates and having those right people and that right team for that.
And to your point, Eddie, it's like not like 6 month long or 2 year long build outs that like, I don't even think people are expecting that or expecting dates, things like that. Like you can literally just grab a focus group. We can look at like power users. What are the people that spend the most amount of time on Kick? Drive like 30 to 50 of those people into an email conversation or a room and be like, what are the like number 1, 2, and 3 features that you see are missing from Kick that like we could fix instantly? And then there you go. Like these are not solutions that are like super hard to do from a technological standpoint. Some of them are harder than others, but it just requires, I think the problem that Twitch ran into post Amazon and that you may or may not be encountering is just the talent pool, right? It is like post like Twitch with like Kevin Lin and like Justin and like these are like true visionary executives. Like like Kevin Lin was my mentor, right? Like I called him every couple of weeks and he was one of the people that taught me how to do business at the level that I can do it now. And once those people cash out their RSUs from Amazon, I think the incoming staff just didn't have the same level of vision or experience. And I don't mean to take away from some of the people that work at Twitch. There's a lot of smart people that work there. But like, it's a talent problem, right? At some level. But if you can find those visionaries and solve for that, I think it's important to have some people at an executive level thinking about that kind of problem. Like, okay, I'm going to gather focus groups. I'm going to take these initiatives. We're going to hit the low hanging fruit, and then we're going to communicate that out properly from a PR perspective to make and like not and to not underestimate ultimately how powerful that is for creators that are considering using your website for the long term.
Yeah, no, I completely. It's interesting take that you had there. I guess, the situation with these larger corporations is, the people that maybe founded it or the people that led it initially probably, they end up moving on. And then the people that replace them may be less incentivized. Maybe, you don't have that same sort of talent density. You don't
and it's just harder. They didn't like grow with the culture, right, in the same way. And like,
I can't tell you how many people I reported to that was on the Alexa couponing team. Completely agree with that sentiment. Hey, Eddie, I want to check in on you. This has been a barn burner, but I also know that it's like crazy late in Australia for you. So I just wanted to check in because we're cooking. I looked at the clock and I'm like, holy shit, like we're cooking. But I just want to check in with you, man, because sleep is important.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's like coming up to like 3:30 a.m. and I think anything past 2 I start saying dumb stuff and maybe not and not paraphrasing, articulating myself in a way which I'm most proud of. So unless Devin, there was anything else like majorly pressing or you think we should discuss or anything that you had that you wanted to bring up, but I must say I've taken a lot away from this conversation and I genuinely mean it. And I know that you've probably seen some other episodes where we've had Kick creators on who are really nice and they're really great people, but it's the hard conversations that we love the most. Like we genuinely do. Like it's what we don't have enough of, and it's what gets us actually thinking, right? So it's
I mean, you fielded every question, you answered everything, and I hope that I didn't come off in a way that was trying to do gotchas and shit like that. I'm never about that. Like I genuinely believe that you are about the health of the live streaming space, and that is my same goal. I have nothing else to add. I really think we made a lot of progress in this conversation. Like truly.
Oh, that's I'm really glad to hear. I must say, I think, I remember, I remember, you know, obviously you were involved in the very early days of Kick, loosely with Tyler, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, you've known about it since probably 4 or 5 months before it even launched. And, you know, I knew that you were always kind of, you know, on the fence in the very beginning and throughout it all. So if we're leaving this conversation and you're telling me wholeheartedly that you're like, hold on, these guys mean business, then that means more than you'd realize, because, you know, I think this is the first time we've ever spoken, but I've, you know, heard all about you for years now.
Well, Tyler and I have done a lot of phone calls, many hours about Kick. So I think we've never directly spoken or been associated, Eddie, I've been in the camp in some way on your platform for a long time. So.
You would have been one of the first people to know about Kick, to be honest.
Yeah. We've seen so many people come into the live streaming space with varying degrees of funding and goals. What you've done with Kick to get it to the degree that it has been now, and what it is, and I think one of the really eye-opening things for me this conversation was when you kind of geared me up to like the current, and Andrew, you did this too. Like you geared me up to like the present moment of where Kick is at. And when I really look at the platform absent of the perception that the widespread community, that like the macroscopic conversation is, you really have moved these things forward. And I think one of the biggest eye-opening moments for me was like, oh man, I have to do a side-by-side comparison of like the current streaming apparatus of large viewership on Twitch versus Kick, and unironically say that the Kick people are probably above board more so than the Twitch people. That was a fucking shocking moment. But I mean, so I learned a lot on this call too.
It's been really good. I think I think it's hopefully not about, you know, Kick versus Twitch so much as I think what you mentioned before about uplifting the live stream platform, ecosystem, the industry as a whole. I think, you know, that is something we talk about more, and I think if these,
you guys deserve your spot. You guys deserve your spot as your own platform. I know there's kind of a lot of back and forth about Twitch in this conversation too. There kind of has to be. And we didn't even get into some of the, like, I think we did pretty well in like kind of staying away from like the Twitch drama and like, about their platform type of thing. I think you guys deserve to stand on your own. But I also think that there is a degree of accountability and a level of communication you have to approach by virtue of that. And that is going to kind of be your next frontier.
Well, when you see that shift in strategy, you know, I think you can definitely take that as we took some free marketing advice from you.
Let's keep in touch, man. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I'm a Discord message away.
Yeah, no, awesome.
I mean, I'll like the stuff that we could talk about offline. I'm sure some of the stuff that you were bringing up, man, like, is a crazy list.
There was, I'm not gonna lie, there was like probably like 3 or 4 things. I was like, fuck, I just wanted to say so badly, but I was like, I can't say nothing here. Like, it was definitely like, just based on respecting privacy and all that kind of stuff, not so much about direction, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of interesting stories out there, and I think, you know, the live streaming space is just fascinating.
It really is. It's one of the coolest places to be. I'm kind of glad that I'm making. I was off it for about 2 or 3 years, because after we stopped advertising on Twitch, I was like, man, like, okay, like none of my revenue is coming from that before. Like, I like the narratives are kind of the same. You know, I'm following it. Like, I'm like watching the news on it and stuff like that, but I wasn't really involved in the conversation, and kind of glad to be back in the conversation. And it's really nice for you guys to have me here, as this is sort of my debut, I guess, to that. So I mean, it's an honor to be here. I mean it. And Eddie, you're a real one, dude. It's kind of, I wish I could have a separate conversation with you, because you know, I had a show called Discussions with Devin Nash where I brought on really successful people and I asked them questions. And you're a 29-year-old multi-billionaire self-made. I'd love to fucking get into that, but that wasn't the focus of the show. So maybe sometime I can offline or online, I can kind of ask you a couple of questions about how you did it. It's pretty amazing.
No, well, I think the fact you've come on here, I think is something we've been wanting for a long time. So the honor is honestly ours. and if that means speaking offline or even online, I'd be more than open to it. I think maybe, that's a learning. I think maybe we need to start looking at our communication, maybe outside just Kick Talk. I think we need to expand to probably some other avenues, because it's probably a little isolated. So, you know, if that's an opportunity down the line to speak about Kick and you know, I guess everything else as well, if you wanted to talk about that too, would love to, because I think live streaming and just these kind of you know, podcast sort of setups, you know, love it by virtue of the industry that we're in and what we're tackling. So that'd be incredible.
Good shit, guys. Good stuff.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Devin. Thanks for coming on, man. Hey, when are you posting to YouTube? When are you going to start making? When are you gonna do your next bit, man?
I don't know. I'm still debating. Like, I'm kind of like Bruce Wayne with the hobbled leg, and like I'm like old and ornery, and like fucking industry. Like I like there. I got inspired pretty recently by a lot of people that are like, dude, like I genuinely became a creator because of you, which is not true. I mean, these guys made it on their own, right? Like, but like they attribute some percentage of that success to some of the content that I've made. And that has inspired me to at least start talking again. But to what extent that I'm going to like come back, I don't know. I still have a lot of, believe it or not, like kind of just self-esteem issues about that imposter syndrome type stuff that like, that I'm not sure I should like be in the space at that level, that I kind of have to debate on my own fucking spirituality, to be honest with you. Not to get super real, but like that, yeah, that's kind of like, so I'm not sure. I don't know to what degree. And it also kind of depends on like what happens, right? Like, I might get an offer to join a super awesome company that I just like I'm a huge fan of, and I'm like, shit, these guys are doing something really impactful. And then I'm back to focusing on that. So like at the end of the day, my mission is impact, however that gets made. We'll see if that's through content or whatever else.
Well, you're a real one, man. And thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Eddie, I'll give you the last word, man. I know it's late over there.
Yes, thank you for staying up so long, man. Appreciate it.
No worries at all. It's been great, and Devin, thank you so much for coming on, making an amazing episode, and you know, again, putting our feet to the fire a little bit. We love talking about this, and if you know you're walking away feeling even 1% more confident in Kick, then I'm hoping that a few other people are feeling the same, because that's all we can hopefully achieve from this. So
keep the conversation going.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Devin.
All right, thanks guys. Appreciate it.